Jai Hind. So we saw today markets recovering a bit. This is only a bounce, not a trend change as of now. So as we move forward, we'll keep looking at whether it is really turned into something or whether it is just a dead cat bounce, because we are only 2 or 3% away from 52-week low. So to presume anything कि यहाँ से market reverse हो जाएगा, market will go much higher, is just assumption, nothing else. So अभी वो presume मत करके चलो. We are still not out of the woods. Because market was oversold and it was due for a bounce, वो bounce आ गया. अब ये bounce कहाँ तक जाएगा? It's very hard to say as of now. So coming to Nifty, levels for tomorrow should be probably if we cross 15,700. Probably 15,850, 15,900. That is what I'm looking in a very short while. Means in क्योंकि परसों expiry भी है, तो max मुझे एक बार वहीं तक दिख रहा है अभी. उसके बाद में देखेंगे डाउन साइड में सपोर्ट 15,550, 15,550 अगर ब्रीच करता है, 15,550 गेट्स ब्रीच, probably we might head towards 15,400. तो अभी ये छोटा सा रेंज चल रहा है वापस 15,400 नीचे की साइड, 15,700, 15,800, 15,900 अप साइड. तो इसी रेंज में कहीं रहना चाहिए. फिर कल देखते हैं क्या होता है. अगर ट्रेंडिंग मूव आता है उसके बाद तो मैं अपडेट कर दूंगा, वरना नहीं आता तो उसी रेंज पकड़ के चल लो बड़ा बहुत. इसी रेंज में कहीं ना कहीं रहना है. Second is Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty probably moved 1,000 points, but again dropped 400 points from the day's high. So the day's highs become crucial now. So if we again are able to cross 33,500 on the upside, probably we might head towards 33,800 to 34,000 zone. On upside cost we are at 32,200. So no point thinking about कि यहाँ से 35 चला जाएगा, 38 चला जाएगा. No point thinking that. On the downside again, support is at 32,800. If 32,800 gets breached, probably 32,400, 32,400 and 32,100 levels. That is 52-week low level. But Bank Nifty gave an interesting data point, that was कि आज इसमें अच्छा short covering आया almost 11% का. Now if Bank Nifty have to sustain, then Bank Nifty needs to see some long build up happening. अगर वो नहीं होता है तो सारा बाउंस बेकार जाएगा. मतलब बुल्स ने जो मेहनत करी, तब वो देख के आके जो भी करना था, तो सारा मेहनत बेकार जाएगा. तो वी नीड टू सी अ फ्रेश फॉलो थ्रू बाइंग करेंगे. अगर फॉलो थ्रू बाइंग निफ्टी बैंक निफ्टी में नहीं आता तो नो पॉइंट गेटिंग टैप्ड इनटू इट. सेकंड पॉइंट वाज कि पीसीआर कल जो ओवरसोल्ड में दिख रहा था वो आज न्यूट्रल पर आ चुका है. बैंक निफ्टी निफ्टी दोनों में. कल भी हम यही बात कर रहे थे कि बहुत ओवरसोल्ड था. फ्राइडे को भी, मंडे को भी ओवरसोल्ड था, तो बाउंस ड्यू था. मतलब टर्न अराउंड नहीं हुआ अभी मार्केट का. टर्न अराउंड बहुत दूर है. जिस दिन टर्न अराउंड होगा उस दिन नई बात करेंगे. अभी टर्न अराउंड नहीं है. अभी सिर्फ ये पकड़ लो, एक बॉल है, इसको नीचे फेंका गया है, वापस वहां से बाउंस कर रही है, नथिंग मोर देन दैट. सो डोंट बी वेरी बुलिश ऑन मार्केट एज ऑफ नाउ. ये स्टॉक कंट्रोल में कुछ अच्छे दिखते हैं, तो जैसे जैसे आगे बात चलती रहेगी स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक, वो बात करते रहेंगे. So that's it from my side as of now. Himanshu, if you are there.
Just 5 minutes from me. डॉक्टर साहब का व्यू लेते हैं. डॉक्टर अशोक, प्लीज गो अहेड विद द व्यू ऑन द मार्केट.
अशोक, तू भी 5 मिनट के लिए आ जाना. मुझे पता है तुझे सोना है. 5 मिनट के लिए आ जा. जो भी तुझे है 5 मिनट के लिए आ जा. या डॉक्टर साहब, टिल देन गो अहेड प्लीज.
जैसा कल आपने डिस्कस किया था कि डेटा पॉजिटिव है, तो एक बाउंस एक्सपेक्टेड था, तो बाउंस ही है ये. अभी हर्डल है 700-800 के पास, क्योंकि वहीं से एक मेजर एक कंट्रैक्शन या कंसोलिडेशन बैंड था पहले का, तो वो एक बार क्रॉस हो जाता है, देन वी कैन एक्सपेक्ट सम मोर रिकवरी. टिल देन थोड़ा सा कॉशियस रहना है. और डिप्स बनेंगी तो अगेन फिर डिप्स बनती हैं, अगर उसमें बाइंग आती है तो मैं तो लॉन्ग साइड में ही प्ले करना पसंद करूंगा अभी फिलहाल, क्योंकि नीचे से हम ऊपर आए हैं. डेफिनेटली थोड़ा सा पुल बैक, जैसे निफ्टी में भी थोड़ा सा एंड में हल्का सा करेक्शन आया, बैंक निफ्टी में सॉरी, तो निफ्टी में बहुत ही कम रिट्रेसमेंट बना है, तो वो ज़्यादा स्ट्रांग लग रहा है. ओवरऑल निफ्टी ज़्यादा स्ट्रांग लग रहा है. तो बायस यही रहेगा, पॉजिटिवली मैं एक माइंडसेट बना के चलूंगा.
डॉक्टर साहब, बैंक निफ्टी एनी व्यूज और क्रूड और एनीथिंग यू आर ट्रैकिंग?
अभी तो मैं नेचुरल गैस, क्योंकि काफी टाइम से, मतलब अभी 2 दिन से बॉटम बना के चल रही थी, तो अभी लॉन्ग में ट्रेड कर रहा है. क्रूड अभी नहीं कर रहा हूँ. एनजी में पॉजिटिव है हम अभी, मतलब फॉर अ बाउंस. और जनरलाइज ओवरऑल आज सारी जगह लॉन्ग बिल्टअप और शॉर्ट कवरिंग ही थी, तो कुछ भी आज नेगेटिव तो नहीं था. तो अभी एकदम से कल मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि एकदम से बहुत ज्यादा कुछ नेगेटिव होने वाला है. तो कंटिन्यू कर सकता है मार्केट इसी डायरेक्शन।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर साहब। तो कंटिन्यूइंग टू दैट पॉइंट, मार्केट ऐसा लग रहा है कि शॉर्ट टर्म में 15,900 950 या 16,010 तक भी एक बार जा सकता है, पर जैसा अमित ने बताया कि ये एक कंटिन्यूस मूव थोड़ा सा होगा, पर लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेंड तो नेगेटिव ही है अभी। इसमें ज्यादा अच्छा स्ट्रेटेजी है कि स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक अगर अपन प्ले करें तो वो ज्यादा अपने को बेनिफिशियल रहेगा। कुछ स्टॉक्स जो अच्छे लग रहे हैं अभी के टाइम में, उसमें आईटी थोड़ा सा अच्छा लग रहा है। माइंड ट्री देख सकते हैं, एम्फेसिस देख सकते हैं, वो तो ये हो गए। और बैंकिंग में भी सिलेक्टेड काउंटर कुछ मूव दे सकते हैं। एचडीएफसी बैंक अच्छा लग रहा है, सॉरी। 2-3 ये स्टॉक्स है। बाकी तो एक बार मार्केट का कल क्लियर प्रोस्पेक्टिव थोड़ा सा पता लग जाएगा। कल अगर अच्छा सा अपने को वापस थोड़ा सा पॉजिटिव साइड में रहता है तो 15,950 16,010 ये लेवल मार्केट एक बार दे सकता है। पर लॉन्ग टर्म में व्यू तो यही है कि डिसाइसिवली कोई ब्रेकआउट नहीं आता है जब तक रेंज को प्ले करना है। और जिस साइड में ज्यादा आपको ऐसा लग रहा है रिट्रैक्शन है, तो उसी साइड में आप थोड़ा सा प्ले कीजिए। दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड। थैंक यू। जगवीर भाई।
हाँ जी सर, बोलिए सर।
बताइए सर, व्यू बताइए मार्केट में। कहाँ आप कौन सा लेवल पकड़ा है आपने?
क्या है काबू, आज दोनों का टारगेट तो ऑलमोस्ट आ ही गए समझो। 15,238 से लॉन्ग गए थे दो टारगेट को लेकर, तो आज 15,716 समथिंग तो ब्रीच कर गया। 15,790 का था, वो थोड़ा बाकी है। और वहां पे आके बी केयरफुल रहना है। और बैंक निफ्टी जो क्लोज हुई है आज, तो 100 पॉइंट का ध्यान रखो। आज के क्लोज से अगर
नहीं, अभी जगवीर भाई आपको बैंक निफ्टी ज्यादा वीक लग रहा है निफ्टी के मुकाबले?
नहीं, मैं उसी के लिए बोल रहा हूँ। बैंक निफ्टी का तो मैंने बता दिया कि जो निफ्टी का तो बता दिया कि जो टारगेट लेके चला था मैं, ऑलमोस्ट 80 पॉइंट या 70 पॉइंट बाकी है ऊपर हाई लेवल पे। 800 के ऊपर अगर नहीं निकलता है तो वहां पे वापस से सेलिंग आ जाएगी। अगर उससे ऊपर निकला तो और 300 पॉइंट समझ लीजिएगा। लेकिन ऑलमोस्ट देखते हैं, ये 2 दिन तो अभी प्रीमियम मीटिंग का ही गेम लग रहा है मेरे को। तो हमें सोचना चाहिए गुड फ्राइडे, जैसे 2-3 ब्लैक फ्राइडे गए, इसी प्रकार से एज पर मंडे ट्यूसडे के हिसाब से गुड फ्राइडे होना चाहिए। इस बार ब्लैक फ्राइडे नहीं होना चाहिए। और वेडनेसडे थर्सडे प्रीमियम मीटिंग होना चाहिए, वेरी टाइट रेंज में होना चाहिए। ठीक है। और बैंक निफ्टी का व्यू ये है कि आज का स्पॉट का जो क्लोजिंग है वो ऑलमोस्ट 7 डे मूविंग एवरेज के करीब बन दिया है। ठीक है। अगर ये उसके ऊपर कल सस्टेन कर जाता है तो ये 2 दिन बहुत बढ़िया रहेंगे बैंक निफ्टी के लिए। निफ्टी के कंपैरिजन में अगर ये 100 पॉइंट 150 पॉइंट नेगेटिव बंद होता है आज के क्लोजिंग से, तो वापस से ये बैक टू पेवेलियन। तो काफी कसमकस लेवल पे आज बैंक निफ्टी ने क्लोजिंग दिया है। आराम से 150 पॉइंट के स्टॉप लॉस से भी लॉन्ग तो बनता था, और थोड़ा बहुत लॉन्ग लेकर भी गया हूँ कल के लिए ओपनिंग के लिए, क्योंकि 15,790 का टारगेट अभी थोड़ा रिमाइंड है मेरे लिए। तो अगर कल जो भी गैप अप होता है 70 80 90 जो भी, या 50 पॉइंट जो भी हो, तो उसमें कवर कर लेंगे। फिर देखेंगे थोड़े देर बाद के जो 1 घंटे बाद के क्या रिट्रेसमेंट देता है, दोबारा एंट्री कब देता है लाइव चार्ट में। तो ऑलमोस्ट मैं पोस्ट कर ही देता हूँ जब कुछ भी ऐसा होता है तो ट्विटर पे। और कोटक बैंक, एक्सिस बैंक, एचडीएफसी बैंक, आईसीआईसी बैंक सारे लॉन्ग थे और अभी भी वो अच्छे लेवल पे खड़े हैं। एक्सिस बैंक को खास ट्रेक करना है। अगर कल आधा % भी स्ट्रांग रहता है और 1% स्ट्रांग मैनेज करता है तो अच्छी खासी तेजी बैंक निफ्टी में आएगी। अगर वो नहीं चलता है
जगवीर भाई, आज है ना सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग मूव ये एसबीआई का देखा कि आपने। एसबीआई आज अच्छा स्ट्रांग खड़ा था। तो अगर एसबीआई, मुझे लगता है कि अगर थोड़ा सा और फॉलो अप दे
नहीं,
दे तो
एसबीआई 438 से लॉन्ग ही था। एचडीएफसी भी लॉन्ग कॉल था अपना। और वो जब तक 40 के नीचे नहीं जाता है तब तक वो स्ट्रांग रहेगा। और सेकंड थिंग, एचडीएफसी बैंक भी स्ट्रांग था, बिल्कुल स्ट्रांग था वो भी बैंक निफ्टी को लेकर खड़ा था सुबह से।
नहीं, HDFC बैंक तो मैंने मेंशन किया था बोलने में, पर SBI मेरा मिस हो गया था। SBI भी आज बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग मूव दे रहा था,
बिल्कुल
मतलब हाँ, तो SBI अगर थोड़ा सा भी फॉलो अप कर सकता है वापस 465 470 लेवल तक जा सकता है, तो बैंक निफ्टी को अच्छा सपोर्ट मिल सकता है मेरे
नहीं,
हिसाब
एक्चुअली उसके लिए 65 का लेवल क्रॉस करना थोड़ा हार्ड रहेगा, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर पूरा ट्रेंड चेंज हो जाएगा उसका, और जो मंथली जो इसमें शॉर्ट है उनको निकलने का मौका मिल जाएगा। क्योंकि जब ये 496 था ना, तब मैंने 420 का टारगेट दिया था, और ऑलमोस्ट वो 432 से घुमा है वो। तो ये जो लेवल है, तो अगर 60-65 आ जाता है ना, तो ये फुल फोर्स में वापस से शॉर्ट हो जाएगा वो। तो वो अभी यहाँ पे साइडवेज में चला जाएगा, और प्राइवेट बैंक पे फोकस करना होगा, प्राइवेट बैंक चलेगी। तो ऑलमोस्ट 2 दिन तो मुझे बहुत टाइट ट्रेंड लग रही है, बहुत कुछ ज्यादा नहीं होगा, लेकिन शुक्रवार को अच्छे खासा देख रहा हूँ कि हो सकता है अच्छा ग्रीन रहेगा, होना चाहिए।
Thank you, Jagir bhai. Thank you. So we'll move on to next speakers. Divyam, Sandeep, and Sunil. So we'll go by this order. First, Divyam, Sandeep, and Sunil. Go ahead, please.
हाय, जय हिंद। क्या तो आई थिंक सब बढ़िया है। मेरा थोड़ा सा मार्केट पे व्यू ये था, एज इन अभी मैं जैसे चार्ट सब देख रहा था, तो निफ्टी में जो 15800 15850 का लेवल है, वहां पर एक अच्छी खासी सप्लाई है। और जैसा भी सब लोग बोल रहे थे, मतलब अमित भाई ने भी बोला, आई टोटली एग्री विद दैट। अगर थोड़े से हायर लेवल्स पे मार्केट मिलता है ना कल, और कोई वहां से नेगेटिव कैंडल्स फॉर्म होना शुरू करते हैं, तो मैं स्प्रेड बना के कॉल शॉर्ट करना पसंद करूंगा वहां पे। 15800 15700 ये कॉल शॉर्ट करना बेटर रहेगा स्प्रेड बना के। अदर देन दैट, मैं ऑप्शन के भी चार्ट्स देख रहा था, जो डीप आईटीएम ऑप्शन से थोड़े से, वहां पर भी ये चीज दिख रही है कि मतलब ऑब्वियसली ऑप्शन में भी एक अच्छी खासी सप्लाई बनी हुई है ऊपर। तो वो टेकआउट करना एक्सपायरी तक इतना आसान होगा नहीं मार्केट के लिए, बट कुछ भी हो सकता है, इसीलिए स्प्रेड बना के ट्रेड करेंगे। और 15-20 पॉइंट से ज्यादा के एसएल का कोई पॉइंट नहीं है निफ्टी में। दूसरा, अदर देन दैट, बैंक निफ्टी में करना है तो बैंक निफ्टी काफी हद तक उस सप्लाई जोन में चला गया था, वहीं से मैं आज एक मतलब रिट्रेसमेंट दिखा वहां पे। तो बैंक निफ्टी के लिए भी वही बात है, अगर कल तो ये खुल जाता है तो इसमें एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज ये होगी ना, अगर ऊपर खुलता है तो ये जो ऊपर गैप पड़ा हुआ है ना, अगर वो मोमेंटम में वहां तक चला गया, तो वहां पे ट्रैप करने का एक सीन बनता है 34,000 के आसपास। तो वहां पर काफी सारे ऑर्डर्स पड़े होंगे बाइंग वाले, तो वहां पर एक ट्रैपिंग अच्छी हो सकती है। तो मेरा बस मतलब मेन, मैं स्ट्रैंगल वगैरह प्ले करना नहीं पसंद करूंगा, कॉल शॉर्ट करने का ही मेरा बायस है थोड़ा भी। बट अगेन, लाइव मार्केट में सारी चीजें चेंज हो सकती हैं। मेरा बस ये कि अगर कोई प्लान अभी है कि अगर कोई नेगेटिव फॉर्मेशन दिखी ऊपर से, तो कॉल शॉर्ट करना ज्यादा पैसा देगा वेडनेसडे और थर्सडे के टाइम पे। बाकी फ्राइडे को देखते हैं, अगर कोई फ्रेश मोमेंटम आता है तो। अभी तो काफी टाइट रेंज लग रही है। तो बाकी स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक एक मेरे पास मतलब टेकेम में स्प्रेड पड़ा हुआ है लॉन्ग साइड पे, आज लिया था वो। तो ठीक है, टेकेम भी मेरे को ठीक ही लग रहा है वहाँ, और उसका स्टॉप आई थिंक
Divyansh, if you can tell me what spread you have created?
स्प्रेड, हाँ, स्प्रेड मेरा ये था कि मैंने 1000 का कॉल बाई करा था अराउंड 22.5 के आसपास, एंड मैंने 1020 की कॉल शॉर्ट करी थी। तो मतलब 1:1 रेशियो में है दोनों, नॉर्मल कॉल स्प्रेड है। तो वो एक स्प्रेड बना था। और निफ्टी के लिए मेरा प्लान है कि मैं थोड़ा सा आईटीएम शॉर्ट करना पसंद करता हूँ, क्योंकि प्रीमियम बेटर मिलता है। तो मेरा प्लान है कि अगर, क्योंकि व्हेन डायरेक्शन इज क्लियर, आईटीएम शॉर्ट करना चाहिए, क्या दिक्कत है उसमें। तो मेरा ये प्लान है कि अगर कल कोई नेगेटिव एक्शन दिखा ना अपने को यहाँ से 15,800 15,750 इन लेवल से, क्योंकि बहुत अच्छी सप्लाई है यहाँ पे, एक बार में नहीं निकलेगा। तो यहाँ पर 15,800 की कॉल शॉर्ट करके 15,950 या 16,000 जैसा भी रिस्क एपेटाइट है, उस हिसाब से एक स्प्रेड बनाया जा सकता है। एंड दिस कैन बी कैरिड, मतलब देखेंगे थर्सडे को कैरी करना है नहीं करना है, बट कल के लिए ये प्लान अभी तो है मेरा। बाकी एज पर ओपनिंग देखते हैं क्या करना है। और नीचे तो एक डिमांड अच्छी खासी है ही, वो 15,370 400 वाले एरिया में। तो मेरे को तो यही साइडवेज सी एक्सपायरी लग रही है इस बार। तो दैट्स इट फ्रॉम माय साइड।
Any other stock you are tracking?
क्या सॉरी?
Any other stock you are tracking? कोई और stock track कर रहे हैं?
अभी मैं सारे एक एक करके एफएनओ देख रहा हूँ, आज थोड़ा लेट हो गया, मैं अभी देख रहा हूँ एक एक करके सारे।
ठीक है।
Point taken. So we'll move it with Sandeep and then Sunil.
Thank you, Himanshu bhai. Thanks, Amit bhai. आज yesterday I think we will discuss. I was very structurally अभी भी weak है. Market is weak. Of course, after a very heavy selling in this in this June series, अब एक ही बाउंस आया है, अब कबूतर को दाना नहीं डालेंगे तो फिर दिक्कत होगी. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, क्यों, अगर मैं डेटा पॉइंट की बात करूं सीधा, इफ आई एम लुकिंग एट डेटा, अभी ऑप्शन में से ऑप्शन इंडेक्स एंड ऑप्शन कॉल इंडेक्स से निकल के सारे क्लाइंट और प्रो निकल गए हैं और पुट साइड में आ गए हैं, whether it is a long or a short position. But having said that, FII is still maintaining that position of a very strong LS ratio, which is very heavy, indicating of still existence of a bearish structure. Even if I look at the option cumulative option open interest data for Nifty, Bank Nifty, even that has decreased on a net level basis. That has decreased while the price is moving up, which is also, for me, it is indicating that while there is no shadow of doubt, will be a pullback or sustained pullback hoga, because there are many people who are in pain, and at that level of loss cannot be absorbed. That level of profit by FIIs cannot, the clients or the pro desk will not be able to handle that kind of a 700 crores, north of 700 crores of a loss. Will not be easy to digest, considering 3,000 points that we have lost on Bank Nifty itself in this series. So, but so structurally it is weak, but yes, clearly 34,100, 34,200 is what clearly is visible by end of June. Is clearly visible on a top side, net level basis, ऊपर नीचे जाके 34 before the earning season, or is what is clearly indicating that 34 of 100 is clearly a break even, at which perhaps most of the pain would be eased out. And after that we might see, after, as the earning season progresses, 15th or 15th of July perhaps, after that we might see a sharper declines to come back with. Because reason why I say this is, oil, everybody is looking at only oil. Nobody looked at the dollar chart. Dollar today made a strong bullish engulfing at 78.2. So which is indicating that, the pain is not yet over. Stock per position pe, Amit bhai, I've just started, looking very, some of the stocks are looking very, very fascinating. And Kotak Bank was a showstopper yesterday and a showstopper today as well. The level at which it is, the level at which it moves, it pretty much predictable कि ये लड़का कहाँ से घूमेगा और कहाँ पे रुकेगा. So at least for me, to begin with, HDFC Bank, it's pretty much a stable bet of a. I generally play it on a it is a very, very stable stock which gives strength to overall structure of the market. अगर उसने ऊपर जाना होता है, HDFC Bank and Reliance will tell you, which side today it will close up with. So, but having said that, ICICI definitely has given up as a matter of fact, all the banks today gave a good bounce. But yes, Kotak was definitely my favorite because I played on both the sides today, like yesterday. So that's it.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Anand sir over here.
Anand sir, yes, I am just
Anand sir.
inviting you to speak. View on the market, sir, please.
Sir, your views about anything, not about market, about anything. I'll love to listen to you any given day.
Me?
Yes,
अरे
sir.
कभी सर कभी तो लिसनर भी बन देने दिया करो यार.
सर आपको हक ही नहीं है, आपको हक ही नहीं है लिसन करने का. आप
और ये
सिर्फ स्पीकर
बैकग्राउंड में बड़ा किसी का अच्छा रॉक रेगे चल रहा है, उसके साथ साथ सुनने में मजा कुछ और है. अब तुम स्पीकर बनने नहीं दोगे यार, स्पीकर ही बना के मानोगे? बताओ, ये कोई बात हुई?
सर आप जहाँ भी जाते हो ना, और जब हम सुनते हैं ना आपको, बाकी सब चानी का क्या कहते हैं, पानी कम चाय होता है.
आप ज्यादा निराश नहीं करूंगा, बताइए मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, क्या जानना चाहते हैं?
सर जो भी आपको लगता है, मार्केट, करेंसी, कमोडिटी, XYZ, जो भी, पॉलिटिक्स, कुछ भी आपके मुंह से कुछ भी सुनने वाला तो नॉलेज ही मिलने वाला है. आप क्योंकि पीपल हु डोंट नो आनंद सर इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 2 decades, मतलब इन्होंने कितने लोगों को सिखाया ना, हम भी इनसे बहुत कुछ सीखे. हमने तो आधी रात को फोन करके सर को परेशान किया, तो इसके लिए हम
और आजकल आप फोन नहीं उठाते अमित भाई.
सर आपने फोन ही नहीं किया तो मैंने पक्का बोल।
तो सर लाख टके की एक बात सिंपल है, मार्केट विश्वास बनाए रखेगा लोगों का। बस जो आप 500 स्टॉक्स में हम रैली देख रहे थे पिछले 2 सालों से, तो वो 500 स्टॉक घट करके शायद 150-200 स्टॉक रह जाएंगे। लेकिन धीरे धीरे पार्टिसिपेशन श्रिंक होता दिखता है। तो जो पहले आप चिड़िया उड़, तोता उड़, मैना उड़ कुछ भी करते थे और वो उड़ जाती थी, अब वो चिड़िया उड़, तोता उड़, मैना उड़ नहीं होगा सर। धीरे धीरे पार्टिसिपेशन 500 स्टॉक्स की रैली से धीरे धीरे घट करके मेरे हिसाब से 125 से 150 स्टॉक्स तक आ जाएगा इस साल के अंत तक। बाकी तो कहा जाए होई सोई जो राम रची रखा। और बताइए मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ
सर। योर व्यू ऑन निफ्टी, बैंक निफ्टी, एनी इंडेक्सेस, एनी स्टॉक?
सर बैंक निफ्टी मेरे ख्याल से 15,800 के नीचे जो टूटा है वो एक रेंज शिफ्टिंग की तरफ इशारा कर रहा है।
सर निफ्टी
हमने सॉरी बैंक निफ्टी नहीं, निफ्टी मतलब मन के मुरादे बाहर निकल जाती हैं, मैं ऐसा नहीं चाहता।
सर बैंक निफ्टी 800 आ गई ना, मैं आपके गांव जाके ना इडली का ठेला लगाना पड़ेगा।
तो निफ्टी जो 15,800 टूटा है ये एक रेंज शिफ्ट की तरफ इशारा कर रहा है। हमने कल 15,100-200 के बीच में एक बॉटम कल देखा बनते हुए, जहां से बाउंस भी आ गया है। अब देखते हैं कि मुझे नहीं लगता कि यार 15,800 टूटने के बाद 3%, 4% पे नया रेंज इमर्ज होगा। मेरे को लगता है शायद थोड़ा और नीचे आकर के एक नया रेंज बनेगा, जिसका लोअर एंड शायद 14,500 हो सकता है, वो एक सपोर्ट है शायद। ऊपर में अपर एंड शायद 16,000, 15,800 का अपर एंड होगा। वहीं पे अगले 3-4 महीने खेलता हुआ दिखता है। बट ब्रॉडर स्ट्रक्चर जो समझ में आ रहा है अमित भाई, 4 महीना साइडवेज जैसे हमने देखा पहले 15,800 और 17,000 के आसपास गया था, तो जैसे वो 4 महीना एक रेंज में रहा, उसके बाद नीचे गिरा, आई थिंक अगले एक नया लो बनेगा, उसके बाद फिर 4 महीना रेंज में रहेगा। लो बेसिकली छोटे छोटे लोअर लोस बनते जाएंगे। ब्रॉडली तो यही है निफ्टी पे व्यू।
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि अगर कोई अभी जो प्रीवियस हाइस में कोई भी किसी की पोजीशन स्टक्ड है, तो आप क्या सजेस्ट करते हैं? अराउंड 16,000 के लेवल पे थोड़ा बहुत लॉस बुक करके एक बार वेट कर लेना चाहिए वापस री एंटर करने के लिए सर?
सर अगर हम अटके हुए हैं तो इसका सीधा सीधा यही मतलब है कि हम में डिसिप्लिन, अनुशासन नहीं है। हमने
सर हाँ, मैं उस चीज से एग्री
माफी चाहता हूं, मैं दिल दुखाना नहीं चाहता उनका, लेकिन अगर हम में अनुशासन की कमी है तो ये बाजार हमारी परीक्षा नहीं, हमें सजा देगा। चाहे हम तेजी में अटके हों चाहे मंदी में, अनुशासन तो जरूरी है ना सर। और दूसरी चीज, अगर आप इसको इस तरह से सोच के देखते हैं, एक बार अगर आप उस पोजीशन से निकल जाते हैं, चाहे 15,000 पे निकलिए या 16,000 पे, वो आपकी इच्छा है, लेकिन एक बार अगर आप निकल जाएंगे, आपने अपना लॉस बांध लिया, उसके बाद आपके पास एक टारगेट रहेगा कि मुझे इतना रिकवर करना है, तो कम से कम आप एक ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड तरीके से बाजार में रह पाएंगे। अभी तो वो ना आपको जीने देगा ना मरने देगा। क्या फायदा है सर उससे?
ओके सर, योर व्यू ऑन बैंक निफ्टी?
बैंक निफ्टी नहीं ट्रैक करता हूं सर, माफी चाहता हूं
सर। कोई स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर आप बहुत सारे चेक करते हो, ये मुझे पता है क्योंकि मैं आपको फॉलो
सेक्टर में सर आईटी एक सेक्टर है जो देख रहा हूं। आई थिंक आईटी में संभालने की अभी आवश्यकता है। रुपी थोड़ा सा वीक लगता है, तो लेकिन वीक रुपी के चक्कर में आईटी लॉन्ग करने की भूल नहीं करनी चाहिए।
सर तो ये जो अभी आईटी में हुआ है, ये डेड कैट बाउंस ही पकड़ के चलो ना
सर। देखिए जब तक 32-33 हजार के ऊपर ट्रेड नहीं करता आईटी इंडेक्स, निफ्टी आईटी इंडेक्स में, मुझे नहीं लगता कि लॉन्ग बनता है। और उसका एक मेजर मूव खत्म हुआ है अमित जी। 11,000 का बॉटम था 2020 में, 11-12 हजार के आसपास, वहां से ऑलमोस्ट 3.5 गुना हुआ है इंडेक्स 2 साल के अंदर। यार 3.5 गुना होने के बाद कम से कम 40% तो रिट्रेस करो यार, 38.1 तो रिट्रेस करो।
परफेक्ट सर। एनी व्यूज ऑन ऑटोज? ऑटोज थोड़ा सा बुलिश लग रहे थे, पर ये अभी गिरावट में वापस ऑटोज भी
सर
उसी लेवल पे।
सर कंजम्पशन में ओवरऑल तो स्लो डाउन दिख रहा है धीरे धीरे। ऑटो में डिमांड पकड़ के रखे हैं लोग। आई थिंक जो नंबर्स आएंगे अक्टूबर में फेस्टिवल सीजन में, उसके बाद शायद ऑटो का भी स्ट्रेंथ धीरे धीरे कम होगा। सर देखिए, आज की डेट पे रेट्स बढ़ रहे हैं, ऑटोज भी इंटरेस्ट रेट सेंसिटिव हैं, डायरेक्टली नहीं इनडायरेक्टली। अगर होम लोन के रेट्स बढ़ रहे हैं तो ऑटो लोन्स के रेट भी बढ़ रहे हैं, और उसको तो नजर में रखना, ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा ना ऑटो में लोन करने से पहले। क्योंकि इस देश में अगर आप देखते हैं कि 100 टू व्हीलर या 100 4 व्हीलर जो भी बिकता है सब फाइनेंस ही होता है। तो सर फाइनेंस किया हुआ गाड़ी में इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ेगा तो आपका हर्ट होगा ना ईएमआई।
अच्छा सर, व्हाट आर योर व्यूज अबाउट इंटरेस्ट रेट? मतलब इंटरेस्ट रेट कहाँ तक बढ़ सकता है, इंडिया का भी और यूएस का?
सर इंटरेस्ट रेट एक बार को लगता है कि शायद क्रूड से थोड़ी सी राहत मिले। मुझे पर्सनली ओपिनियन है कि एक बार क्रूड शायद 90 तक वापस दर्शन देगा 3-4 महीने में। तो अगर 90 तक दर्शन देता है तो इन्फ्लेशन भी थोड़ा कम होगा, तो शायद इंटरेस्ट रेट में थोड़ी राहत मिलेगी। लेकिन हाँ, वो राहत इतनी ही होगी कि नए रेट हाइक शायद थोड़े धीरे हो जाएं, लेकिन रेट हाइक्स तो होंगे। अगली बार शायद फेड 75 बेसिस पॉइंट ना करे, 25 करके छोड़ दे, वही काफी है। और अगर फेड 25 पे मान गया तो आरबीआई भी शायद बोले चल ठीक है जाने दे, इस बार छोड़ देता हूं।
तो सर दैट विल बी मार्केट पॉजिटिव और मार्केट नेगेटिव अगेन, क्योंकि
सर
मार्केट
देखिए,
को डिस्काउंट करने आएगा।
हाँ मार्केट तो अभी 75 बेसिस पॉइंट का एक और रेट हाइक फैक्टर इन कर रहा है फेड की तरफ से। तो अगर यहाँ पे ऐसा है ना कि हाईली नेगेटिव और लेस नेगेटिव, तो लेस नेगेटिव इज पॉजिटिव। तो मतलब जहाँ पे ये तो ऐसी बात हो गई कि यार क्लास में मुझे 4 डंडे पड़ने वाले थे, मास्टर जी ने 1 डंडा मार के छोड़ दिया, तो अच्छा हुआ यार 1 डंडे में बच गए।
सर इसके लिए आपको सुनने में मजा आता है, मतलब
जहाँ 4 डंडे पड़ने वाले थे वहां 1 डंडे में बच गए, तो अच्छी बात है ना यार।
सर इसके लिए बोलो ना, आपको सुनने में इसके लिए मजा आता है। आप आउट ऑफ कंटेक्स्ट कहाँ से बात लाते हो, स्कूल की बात याद दिला दी हमें। मतलब मार्केट तो डंडे याद आता है।
मार्केट डंडे ही मार रहा है यहाँ पे, पहले मास्टर जी मारते थे स्कूल में, अब मार्केट मार रहा है।
सर एक और क्वेश्चन था मैंने मेरा ये कि एनी इवेंट और एनी लेवल्स, वो अगर ये जो व्यू अभी है इसको चेंज करने के लिए, अगर जैसे रशिया यूक्रेन का कुछ इवेंट में पॉजिटिव आउटकम आता है या फिर ऐसा कोई लेवल निफ्टी बैंक निफ्टी ब्रीच करता है, तो अगर उसमें अगर आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू चेंज होता है तो वो लेवल कौन सा होगा?
मान्यवर, अगर आप याद करें रशिया यूक्रेन की जब लड़ाई का आरंभ हुआ था, तो तारीख थी मेरे ख्याल से मार्च का पहला हफ्ता। क्या मैं गलत हूं अमित भाई?
नहीं सर, 5 मार्च और 4 मार्च।
23 फरवरी स्टार्ट हुआ था वॉर।
23 फरवरी था कि 8 मार्च था अमित भाई?
नहीं सर, 8 मार्च, द डे पुतिन अनाउंस्ड द इन्वेजन ऑफ रशिया, सॉरी यूक्रेन।
सर 23 को गोली चल गई थी सर, 23 24 को गोली चल गई थी पहले।
क्योंकि मुझे याद है 7-8 मार्च को मार्केट ने 15,800 पे बॉटम बनाया, राइट? और उसके बाद वहां से एक बड़ी अच्छी 10% की ऑलमोस्ट रैली आई, तो हमने वॉर को तो डिस्काउंट कर दिया तुरंत रैली दे करके। अब हम, ये तो वही बात हो गई कि प्री बजट भी रैली चाहिए और पोस्ट बजट भी रैली चाहिए। तो हम एक ही दृष्टिकोण से सोच रहे हैं? आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात? कि हमें आज हम सारा जो मार्केट का करेक्शन है वो केवल हम शायद रशिया वॉर पे ठोक दें अगर हमारा बस चले तो आर वी गेटिंग वन डायरेक्शनल इन आवर अप्रोच? ये भी पॉसिबल है कि शायद रशिया यूक्रेन की लड़ाई खत्म हो जाए, उसके बाद मार्केट गिर जाए, क्योंकि अगर उसके लड़ाई शुरू होते ही मार्केट में तेजी आ सकती है तो उसके लड़ाई खत्म होने के बाद मार्केट गिर भी सकता है। आई थिंक मार्केट अपने डिमांड सप्लाई को लेके ही चल रहा है सर। मुझे रशिया यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के पहले भी हमने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट देखे हैं और आगे भी देखते रहेंगे। वो शॉर्ट टर्म में हफ्ते 2 हफ्ते महीने भर में इंपैक्ट डाल सकते हैं, बट लॉन्ग टर्म आई थिंक मार्केट विल गो बैक टू मनी सप्लाई। और जहां तक मनी सप्लाई का सवाल है, आज से 5 हफ्ते पहले जब हम 15,800 के ऊपर ट्रेड कर रहे थे, तब हम इस बात का दंभ भर रहे थे। दंभ यानी मतलब दंभ को हिंदी में एक शब्द है दंभ, उसका मतलब है कि बोस्ट करना। तो हम इस बात का दंभ भर रहे थे कि भाई कुछ भी हो जाए, एफआई कितना भी माल बेच ले, हमारा इंडेक्स तो 16,500 पे ट्रेड कर रहा है। याद है?
यस सर, यस सर।
तो हमारा दंभ तो उस दिन निकल गया जिस दिन 15,800 टूटा। तो एफआई इसलिए नहीं निकल रहे कि इंडिया खराब है, एफआई इसलिए निकल रहे क्योंकि भैया इंटरेस्ट रेट ऊपर है यूएस में, तो वहां पे इन्वेस्ट करना उनके लिए ज्यादा बेटर रिटर्न देता है। तो मनी फ्लो अगर आएगा तो हर लेवल पे मार्केट ठीक है, मनी फ्लो अगर एग्जिट होगा तो किसी भी लेवल पे मार्केट सेफ नहीं रहेगा।
सर एक और इसमें था, ये कुछ क्रिप्टो का भी रोल है क्या, जो एफआई पैसा यहाँ से निकाल रहे हैं क्रिप्टोज का, उनको कुछ रिडम्पशन भरना हो या ऐसा कुछ?
सर मुझे क्रिप्टो का गारंटी के बारे में ज्यादा ज्ञान नहीं है, मैं ट्रैक नहीं करता हूं, केवल सुन लेता हूं लोगों से कि हाँ ऊपर है नीचे है, सुना है अपने टॉप से 70% नीचे है, तो मैं उस पर क्या ही बोलूं, जो चीज नहीं आती उस पर ना बोलना अच्छा।
अच्छा सर, योर व्यूज अबाउट डॉलर, मतलब यूएसडी आईएनआर।
सर यूएसडी आईएनआर मैंने शॉर्ट टर्म टारगेट इस साल का 83 के आसपास का दिया हुआ है।
तो ये सर बेनिफिट किसको करेगा और नुकसान किसको देगा? नुकसान तो मार्केट को ही करने वाला है, बेनिफिट किसी को कर सकता है, तो हम उस सेक्टर को देख लें जाके।
सर अब बेनिफिट का क्या ही बोलें, क्योंकि ये रैली जो है कोई ब्रेकआउट रैली दिखती नहीं, सस्टेन्ड स्टैगर्ड रैली दिखती है, तो मेरे ख्याल से ये इन्फ्लेशन ही लेके आएगा।
Because we are net importers, that is why.
जी बिल्कुल।
तो ये सर आईटी सेक्टर को बूस्ट नहीं करेगा?
नहीं सर, डाउट है। इसीलिए तो मैंने कहा ना कि सजग रहिए, आईटी सेक्टर में तेजी इसलिए मत करिए क्योंकि यूएसडी आईएनआर वीक लग रहा है। अगर इस आधार पे आप तेजी कर रहे हैं तो शायद आपके पैसे नहीं बनेंगे।
Guys, if you have any question for Anand sir, please go and ask him. मतलब ये आए हैं, इनको रोस्ट कर लो पूरा, ये कभी कभार आते हैं, and he is a knowledge bank. Go ahead and ask your questions to him. Don't give him suggestions, ask your questions. अभी मिलते हैं ना, मैं इनसे क्वेश्चन ही पूछता हूँ। सर आपने एक पीएससी बैंक का बहुत पहले स्पेस किया था, मुझे पता है, मैंने भी पूरा सुना था। पीएससी बैंक के बारे में भी आपका क्या व्यू है? गोइंग फॉरवर्ड से फॉर एटलीस्ट लॉन्ग टर्म पीरियड, नॉट शॉर्ट टर्म पीरियड, लॉन्ग टर्म।
सर जो लॉन्ग टर्म की अगर बात करें, चलिए लॉन्ग टर्म का मतलब 10 साल ठीक रहेगा। अमित भाई?
Yes, absolutely sir. I am long term means 10 years only. लॉन्ग टर्म मेरे लिए 2 साल नहीं होता, 5 साल नहीं होता।
सर 10 साल में इस देश में मेरा मानना है, और मैं गलत हो सकता हूं, पहले भी हुआ हूं, आगे भी होऊंगा, मेरा मानना है कि ये जो खाई है ना पीएसयू और प्राइवेट की, ये जो भेदभाव है ना हमारे देश में, कि हम अच्छे तुम बुरे, हम सरकारी तुम प्राइवेट, हम मालिक तुम गुलाम, मेरे ख्याल से अगले 10 साल में इस देश में बैंकिंग एक कमोडिटी बन जाएगी और ये भेदभाव खत्म हो जाएगा। सारे बैंक अच्छे होंगे या सारे बैंक बुरे होंगे, जो पिछले 10 साल में हमने 2010 से 2020 में देखा, प्राइवेट्स वेर प्रेफर्ड ओवर पीएसयू, नॉट ओनली एज अ स्टॉक बट आल्सो एज अ बैंकिंग पार्टनर। आई थिंक अगले 10 सालों में स्थिति जो है वो सामान्य हो जाएगी, बैंक बैंक रहेंगे, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा कि वो प्राइवेट है या पीएसयू है।
So, मतलब अगर if I have to put money for 10 years, I can
हाँ,
go and buy ETFs. ETFs. I'm talking about
हाँ ले सकते हैं, क्योंकि उसमें आपको जो है वेटेज आज की डेट पे थोड़ा सा स्क्यूड है टूवर्ड्स प्राइवेट। आई थिंक वो वेटेज भी जो है वो इक्वली प्री पीएसयूज की तरफ आ जाएगा।
सर PSU का वेटेज तो बैंक निफ्टी में 10% है।
हाँ, वो धीरे धीरे बढ़े।
यस
सर आप याद करिए 2011 में पीएसयूज का वेटेज बहुत ज्यादा था। आप याद करिए निफ्टी में 2011 में निफ्टी में आपके बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा भी था, पीएनबी भी था और एसबीआई भी था।
सर कैन बैंक भी था, बहुत सारे और बैंक्स भी थे।
हाँ,
और तो सब क्या है,
अब वो सब वापस वो जो स्क्यू हो गया था प्राइवेट की तरफ, वो वापस पीएसयू की तरफ थोड़ा झुकेगा और इवेंचुअली आप देखोगे कि दोनों का वेटेज ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल हो जाएगा।
Okay,
So-
Srinivas want to ask a question. Yes, go ahead with your question and then.
Thank you, sir. No, good to have Anand sir. So I don't want to lose the opportunity. Sir, this latest RBI bulletin, जहाँ उन्होंने मतलब they released a working paper, जहाँ they're saying 5% probability capital outflow, 3.3% of GDP, $70 billion, और एक scenario, extreme scenario, 7.7% of GDP, which is like $250 billion or something. इसका मतलब how we should interpret? मैं थोड़ा देख के panic नहीं, it felt very serious, but you're a institutional player.
I would put it the other way around. As a regulator, it is their duty to bring out multiple what if scenarios. And we should be happy that as a regulator, they are doing their job very well. A regulator cannot have a biased opinion like a K. Anant Rao. A regulator has to be inclusive and prepare the economy and the people in general in case there needs to be a hard landing. Right? So they are doing their job so that when the hard landing actually happens, भगवान ना करे किसी को हार्ड लैंडिंग देखनी पड़े, बट अगर आप फ्लाइट में इंस्ट्रक्शंस फॉलो करते हो, जो प्री फ्लाइट इंस्ट्रक्शंस होती हैं, तो आपको क्या बताते हैं कि भाई कुर्सी की पेटी बांध लें, हवा का दबाव कम होगा तो ऊपर से ऑक्सीजन मास्क गिरेगा, फिर आपको बताते हैं कि भाई वो पानी में उतरने से पहले वो जैकेट पहन रहे, रक्षा जैकेट, बताते हैं कि नहीं बताते हैं?
बिल्कुल सर।
तो सर क्यों बताते हैं?
जस्ट इन केस।
हाँ जी,
जस्ट इन केस।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। सो सर, तो ये भी उसी तरह का एक एक्टिविटी है। 1 in a million flights will have to land on water, but every flight, this pre-flight instructions needs to be given. It's their job. मैं तो इस तरह लेता हूं उसको।
Very good, sir. I mean, makes sense.
आनंद सर, just a second. नरेश भाई भी है, मुझे पता नहीं क्यों नरेश भाई ज्वाइन नहीं करता है। If नरेश भाई you can join in, I have sent you a request. Till then, Anand sir, please carry on. And Shubham, I have a question for you, probably, I think. Shubham, you have a question? Go ahead with Anand.
Yes, sir. Sir, really good to have you here. Very good evening to everyone. I had two questions actually. First question was that कि sir सारे sectors तो समझ में आ रहे, but metal is looking to be in a very tricky situation. So how would you look into the metal sector? Secondly, India has to pay, I think around, if I'm not wrong, then $250 billion of bond payments. मैं न्यूज पढ़ा था लास्ट ईयर, सो उसके बारे में आपका व्यू जानना चाहूंगा।
$250 billion of bond payment is not a worry. ठीक है, because there is no credit crisis as such. And bond payments जो हैं $250 billion, हम जितना बोरो करेंगे उसके सामने हमको वो जो है वो पेमेंट करते रहना पड़ेगा, तो that's okay, nothing to worry. Coming to your question on metals, sir, metals did not rally just because Ukraine was invaded. Metals have been rallying from almost end of 2019 or mid of 2019. तो एक 2-3 साल का एक मूव खत्म हुआ है, उसका प्रॉफिट
Okay.
बुकिंग थोड़ा ब्रूटल है। मेटल इसीलिए हाई बीटा सेक्टर बोला जाता है क्योंकि उसकी रैली भी वाइल्ड होती है। आप याद करिए आज से 3 साल पहले 2019 में आई थिंक आपका टाटा स्टील जो है वो 300-400 के बीच में ट्रेड होता था, तो तब किसी को नहीं लेना था, लेकिन जब 1500 हो गया तो इट वाज बीइंग चेस्ड बाय एवरीवन। तो हाई बीटा सेक्टर है, उसके बिहेवियर ऐसे बहुत नॉर्मल है। जिसने भी अभी जैसे अमित भाई हैं या नरेश भाई हैं हमारे जो आए हुए हैं, हम लोगों ने जिन्होंने साथ में 15-17-20 साल बाजार के गुजारे हैं, तो हमको पता है मेटल हम सब टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट मेटल को जंगली जानवर ही बोलते हैं। वो चलता भी जंगली है और गिरता भी जंगली है। तो आई डोंट थिंक मेटल्स में पर से कुछ खराबी है, ये मेटल्स का बिहेवियर है, इसके साथ हमको जीने की आदत डालनी पड़ती है।
सर साइक्लिकल कमोडिटी है ना, इसके लिए इसके साथ जीने की आदत डालनी पड़ेगी, और कोई ऑप्शन
नरेश भाई भी शायद यही जवाब देते हैं। नरेश भाई, मेटल्स
सो मेटल्स में साइकिल्स है, साइकिल्स खेलना है। वो बड़ा कॉमन है कि भाई जब तेजी होगी तो 3 से 5 गुना होगा, और जब गिरेंगे तो 30-50% गिर जाएंगे और पता भी नहीं चलेगा। तो क्योंकि मैंने पार्टिसिपेट किया ये साइकिल में, तो मेरे लिए तो अच्छा था ये साइकिल, और निकल भी गया ऑन द वे। और करंटली अभी इंटरेस्टिंग भी लग रहा है कि अच्छा खासा फॉल हो चुका है। जो मार्च 21 के भाव थे उसके करीब हर कोई स्टॉक आ रहा है, तो काफी कुछ प्राइस में है, अभी रिवर्सल सिग्नल के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं।
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Nuresh sir, your views on the market, and where do you see going ahead in the next month or so? Yeah.
So my view is overall say I take a little broader outlook. So view simple है यार, मतलब we are in a bull market correction. Now bull market correction could be 25-30% also. We've seen that happen. So a lot of people won't remember, but 2006 the Nifty fell by 30-35%, 33% in less than 45 days in 2006 in the middle of a raging bull market. Then 2009 onwards the corrections have been slower in magnitude as well as in time. 2010 we fell from the top of 2010 to 2011 we fell by 25%. 2015 to 2016 we fell by 25%. So this is 2018, even though it did not fall by 25% on the benchmark indices, Nifty and Sensex, but we fell by 25 to 40% on the small cap index. So today we are in that situation wherein we've fallen closer to 18-20% on the Nifty, but broader markets mein 40% of the stocks above 100 crore market cap have fallen by more than 40%. So this is the classical correction which plays out. So a lot of people do not understand that corrections are normal. The problem is crash or something which happened in 2008 and say 2020 where out of nowhere you fell 40% and you did not get much of a chance to asset allocate, change some positions, etc. So my view is in the same way, ideally we should say in a normal condition find a base around 15,000, or the worst case we go to 14,000, 14,500 if something further comes up on the negative side. But more importantly, we are going into a sideways period of time. So everyone wants a major correction from here on or a major rally. But there is a good chance we get into a boring zone for the next 1 month or so.
So Nilesh bhai, we are in kind of a time correction.
Hello, I missed it. क्या बोला आपने?
मैं बोल रहा हूँ अपन टाइम करेक्शन. We are going.
Amit, I think your voice is going. I'll just repeat. Amit was asking, we are going into a time correction.
So I would say a time consolidation, not a correction. Say time correction implies we also have some price correction. So my view is we'll stay at 15,000 to 17,000 for much longer time than most of us expect. And I'm ready to be proven wrong by the markets. So for now, the view is 15,000 should roughly be the base on a closing basis. Same way, 17,000 should be tough to cross. I'm taking a round figure for just comfort, not exact resistance support levels. And problem here is when you look at the Nifty, most of the analysts today only look at Nifty chart and do not understand what the Nifty is. So the structure of the Nifty changes in every cycle. So people try to compare current violence with 2007 का violence. वो होगा ही नहीं क्योंकि index ही change हो गया तब से. R Power was the sixth largest weight in the index in 2007. Unitech had a higher weightage than HDFC Bank. 2009, that changed to free float market cap, and that changed the structure of the Nifty itself. Today, 35-40% generally has been financial. Same way, Reliance is 13% right now. So if you look at Reliance, अगर Reliance गिरता नहीं है, तो you have a problem of a major fall not happening so soon. Then you have another 15%, 17% with HDFC Bank. So the structure of the index is such that we'll get to more consolidation phases. We've seen this happen. 2015-16 was a slow fall on the Nifty, but broader market kept on doing well. So wo period mein I remember it was one of my best periods because sectoral rotations were great. Chemicals, textiles went up 100% when the Nifty was down 20%. So there is a good possibility we are going into that phase of 2015-16 very similar, wherein we had that bump up. Say from the previous high, we went up 50%. 6,000 became 9,000 on the Nifty. Same way, we've gone from 12,400 to 18,500. We drift towards 14, 15,000 levels, but stock specific action will start getting better. So my view is that right now play the sector rotation rather than having a lot of view on the market. Nifty is about 7 stocks. So
coming back to the sectors that you just
$750 just a couple of months back. Then you look at a lot of names like Hero MotoCorp, it is still a zero return over a 7-8 year period. Eicher Motors has gone nowhere. So this sector has gone through a very long phase of no return. That is where outperformance can come in. Second, as of now, I'm watching for banking, don't have positions here. But banking is at the same place where it was. Bank Nifty 30 to 500 pre-COVID. Today we are at 33,000. And Axis Bank 630, 615, 2015. Today we are at 630, 650. 7-year return zero. Same way, IndusInd Bank 7-year return zero. HDFC Bank 3-year return is zero, 3-4 year returns. So a lot of these banks, only ICICI has done better right now. Even SBI used to be 350 in 2010. Today we are at 450. So 12-year return of what? 30%. So banking, so going forward, if there has to be leadership, it could come from banking purely because banking is 25% of the index weight. Add up HDFC Limited, it becomes 30%. So banking is one I would be watching. Autos is another. And then there would be smaller sectors across the board in the broader markets.
Sir, the FMG sector has been defensive all along in this time. If you think it can take a leadership role in coming times, the FMCG sector I'm asking about.
So FMCG, technically the view is every stock in FMCG will behave differently. So HUL is at the same
नरेश भाई, वन पॉइंट चिराग, एक सेकंड में गलती से तो नरेश भाई, when people see this institutional data, cash market, or they never compare it with what FII wants that. FII ने कहाँ पे खरीदा, लोग यही कंपेयर करते हैं FII ने, लोग यही देखते हैं FII ने इतना खरीद।
Amit, I think your voice is not clear.
Amit, your voice is echoing.
So, if I'm
Nuresh, I'll ask you another question. I know you know that there is a failed pattern there. PSU index has got PSU bank index has given a breakdown of happening index. Do you think it is a whipsaw pattern or it will completely target?
I'm still not able to exactly understand क्या बोल रहे हैं।
Is my voice clear now?
हाँ, अभी better है।
PSU bank index में head and shoulder breakdown दिया है. And I know you like to trade on failed patterns a lot. So will this be a failed pattern in the national rally in PSU banks, or it will completely be downside target?
So, अगर जैसे मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना कि if you compare current markets, it is very similar to what happened in 2015-16. 2016 में you will see major indices. अभी you can pick up a PSU bank index today or a BSE small cap index, Nifty small cap, various indices gave a breakdown. When we fell in the last leg from 8,000 Nifty, 7,500 Nifty to 6,800 Nifty, and then we reversed one way. So the problem is when you look at a head and shoulders breakdown after say a major sideways consolidation, तो बहुत बार वो failure pattern होता है, but it's not necessary कि it will be a V rally. It can just go sideways. So we've seen के बहुत अगर pattern में से अगर से shoulder to neckline अगर बहुत बड़ा difference है, those patterns don't really work out. Say if there is a difference के 20% difference है, और कई बार होता है हेड का टारगेट तो नेगेटिव भी आ जाता है कोई कोई स्टॉक्स में, सो दैट इज नॉट या सो आई वुड बी वेटिंग फॉर फेलियर पैटर्न कंफर्मेशन. तो मैं बहुत सारे इंडाइसेस का लिस्ट बना के रखा हुआ है जहाँ पे बीएसई स्मॉल कैप है, पीएसयूज है, और भी दूसरे इंडाइसेस है जो छोटे कि जहाँ पे करंट ही ब्रेकडाउन हुआ है बट फॉलो अप सेलिंग ही नहीं है. नहीं तो हेड एंड शोल्डर्स में द अजम्पशन इज ब्रेकडाउन हुआ तो जब तक people start talking about head and shoulders, your shoulder target should be over.
Anand sir, any inputs from your end on the 3% charts long term?
नहीं 3% चार्ट तो नहीं देखता सर, मैं तो 0.25% वाला ही हूँ. लॉन्ग टर्म में 15 बॉक्स शुरू किया है. 15 बॉक्स का एक ऑब्जर्वेशन भी निफ्टी पे डाला था मैंने हाल फिलहाल में 15-20 दिन पहले. 2 स्माइल्स कंप्लीट हुआ है पिछले कुछ सालों में. 15 बॉक्स चार्ट आप समझते हैं कि रिवर्सल में टाइम लगता है, तो तो अभी एक और मूव अपना 18,700 पे खत्म होता जैसा लगा है. 15 बॉक्स बोलता है कि भाई यहाँ के बाद या तो स्माइल बने या फ्राउन, वो तो समय बताएगा. लेकिन एक बार को मार्केट अगले 5 से 6 क्वार्टर के लिए मुझे स्ट्रगल करता ही दिख रहा है कि भाई जो रैली आज की डेट पे, मैंने स्टार्टिंग में भी ये बात बोली, आगे भी यही बोल रहा हूँ कि भाई जो 500 स्टॉक्स हमारे चिड़िया उड़, तोता उड़, मैना उड़, गधा उड़, सारे जानवर उड़ रहे थे पिछले 2 साल में. आई एम जस्ट मेटाफोरिकली स्पीकिंग, एनी स्टॉक ड्यू टच वाज रैलिंग, राइट? नाउ that entire rally I would actually break it down कि आप निफ्टी 500 को 5 भाग में ब्रेक करिए 100 स्टॉक्स, और आई थिंक हर 100 स्टॉक के सेगमेंट में आई थिंक 10% स्टॉक चलेंगे. सो निफ्टी 1 to 100 में आपको 10 स्टॉक चलेंगे, 101 to 200 में शायद 10 स्टॉक चलेंगे. तो ओवरऑल निफ्टी 500 में आप देखोगे कि 50 से 75 स्टॉक चलेंगे. तो पार्टिसिपेशन उसी 75 स्टॉक में कंसंट्रेट होके रहेगा. अब उसमें आपको लार्ज, अल्ट्रा लार्ज कैप भी आ गया और उसमें आपको स्मॉलर माइक्रो कैप भी आ गया. आई होप यू गेट द, यू अग्री टू दिस कि भाई उसमें सब कुछ आ जाता है. तो तो सर ये पार्टिसिपेशन जो हमने 450 स्टॉक का देखा था तेजी में 2 साल, आई थिंक वो घट करके 75 स्टॉक रह जाएगा मैक्स टू मैक्स। बीच बीच में कभी कभी आपको 2-3 महीना मिलेगा जब शायद 100 स्टॉक चलेंगे, बट कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड हो जाएगा मार्केट, अक्रॉस द बोर्ड नहीं रहेगा।
Any particular sector you will bet on?
नो सर, इट विल नॉट बी सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक, इट वुड बी मोर एवरी सेक्टर। जैसा अभी नरेश भाई ने भी बोला कि भाई अगर आप देखो बैंकिंग उठा करके तो फलाने का 5 साल रिटर्न फ्लैट है, फलाने का 10 साल रिटर्न फ्लैट है, फलाने का 10 साल रिटर्न 3% है। तो आई थिंक विद इन बैंकिंग आपको इतना मजा हो सकता है आए कि भाई एक टाइम ऐसा होगा कि एक्सिस बैंक आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है पूरे बैंक निफ्टी को, लेकिन उसके बाद एक्सिस बैंक की जोर से ठुकाई, और फिर उस समय जो है जब एक्सिस बैंक ठुक रहा होगा तो शायद एक स्टेट बैंक आउट परफॉर्म करेगा। तो वहां पे भी रोटेशन विद इन द सेक्टर, नरेश भाई कह रहे थे कि आउट सेक्टर रोटेशन होगा। मैं एक स्टेप आगे जाना चाहूंगा, कहूंगा कि भाई रोटेशन जो है आउटसाइड विद इन सेक्टर्स तो होगा ही, इनसाइड द सेक्टर भी रोटेशन देखने को मिलेगा। दैट विल मेक एज आवर लाइफ एज अ ट्रेडर वेरी डिफिकल्ट कि यार
Can anyone of the host invite Rohit Srivastava as the speaker? I had gone through his webinar for long shot and would love to hear his rationale for 11,750 again.
Chirag, भेज दिया ऑलरेडी मैंने।
Rohit sir, please accept the request. Go ahead, Anand sir. Sorry.
नहीं, तो आई वाज जस्ट टेलिंग दैट वी विल हैव चैलेंजेस नॉट ओनली पिकिंग अप अ सेक्टर, वी विल हैव चैलेंजेस पिकिंग अप स्टॉक्स विद इन द सेक्टर। सो that will be the case. On some accounts you will have 8 stocks in bank nifty doing very well and 4 stocks doing badly, but those 4 may have very good weightage. So the challenges is not going to be just inter-sector, but it should going to be intra-sector also, which eventually comes back to the point which I'm trying to tell is ki break nifty 500 into 5 parts of 100 stocks each, and you will have 10% of the stocks doing well in every 100 stock of nifty 500. So it's going to be a tough life.
So basically, for everyone listening there, I would like to put it in that way that COVID was one of the different periods when everything was running, and it was back to normal, where selected stocks will run who have got good earning potential, or they have cracked down a lot valuation every different area, and they will do win as well. So it will be like back to
चिराग भाई वॉइस में डिस्टरबेंस, थोड़ा सा डिस्टरबेंस है वॉइस में, एक बार वापस थोड़ा सा रिपीट करेंगे।
तो मैं यही बोल रहा था कि कोविड एक पीरियड को अगर छोड़ दोगे जहाँ पे बहुत लोगों ने अच्छा बुल मार्केट का एहसास लिया, अभी फॉर ओल्ड सीजन ट्रेडर्स मार्केट विल बी लाइक बैक टू ओरिजिनल, कि कुछ सिलेक्टेड स्टॉक सिलेक्टेड सेक्टर्स चलेंगे, चेरी पिकिंग करना डिफिकल्ट रहेगा, जहाँ भी हाथ डालोगे वहाँ पैसा नहीं बनेगा।
Chirag, I would like to add here one thing. Last 2 years we saw many people quitting their jobs and becoming full-time traders.
मैं कल रात को वही ट्रोल कर रहा था।
Next 3 years we will see many people going back to jobs.
मैं कल रात को थोड़े डॉक्टर्स लोगों को उसमें ट्रोल कर रहा था। आशुतोष सर है, बुरा मत मानना सर, बट नाउ यू आर अ फुल टाइम ट्रेडर, सो यू आर इन आवर लीग। रोहित सर, so you are seeing at an analogy same like 2008, where crude will first react, market will go up, and then commodities and equities, everything will fall together. We would like to hear your view, sir.
There's a lot of noise on the channel, so ideally people should mute themselves when someone is speaking. That's just one input. So my views are actually not compared to 2008. Actually, I was comparing more with 2000 because Y2K is a closer. I think, comparative period to what is happening in terms of
everything tech becoming a bubble. So more technologies. That time it was mostly internet. This time it's many other things related to tech, new age technologies and so on. So that's more comparable. Even the pattern of the Nasdaq is very, very similar. So that is what I was drawing upon. Correlations with the dollar are similar. And only the last aspect was the what you're talking about, commodities. Essentially, it's the bond equity commodity cycles that lead lag with each other. Bonds are usually the first to top or bottom out, followed by equities, and then followed by commodities. So commodities are the last one. And that should happen with this war on inflation. At some point of time, you'll go from an inflation thesis to a disinflation thesis, where everything which is inflating will go into everything is disinflating or deflating. And you'll have the opposite problem than what you're having right now before the crisis is really over.
So, sir, I have also not seen the 2000 fall. If you want to make people understand that what the quantum of the fall would be, how their portfolios will go down, if you could rationalize it and explain everyone, so people will get a good idea that we are still at start of the fall. Only 20-30% correction is for, still lot of downside steam is left. So if you would like to quantify it comparing to 2000 where we are right now.
You're sort of halfway. You're sort of midway now. Okay. In terms of index, it may look much less because actually the index has fallen in a very limited way on a relative basis, because it's barely down in terms of retracement. But I think you're somewhere, I think, halfway, partly or close to halfway of the journey is how I'll think about it right now.
So what was the average correction in stocks that time? 80% down, 90% down from the top?
Depends on the stock. So actually, in terms of retracement, yes, a lot of the core sectors that had broken out into new all-time highs after a 7-8 year period, including the likes of Reliance, ACC and all, which, so I'm not even talking tech, talking about the core economic sectors which had broken out from a long gestation phase. Like you would have seen many sectors break out of a 7-8 year gestation from 2008 to 2020. We have seen the same this time around. Then they retraced around maybe 70% retracement, 80% retracement, depending on the case. Like L&T did a near 100% retracement, went back to do a double bottom. The big losses, though, were not in these retracements. These retracements were you went up, you came back where you started. The big losses were in the new age tech and tech related and speculative names, which are all the Ketan Parekh and other stocks. Those all went down into oblivion. I mean, 90% or delisted.
So
Now,
currently also the new age stocks, I'll give example of Paytm or Nykaa or other, which were the new age stocks. They've already done those corrections, which comparatively we will do if with 2000. They've already completed those corrections. Just the cycle has got over in shorter period of time frame.
no, is it over? Maybe, maybe not. Because the one difference is that what I'm comparing then is I'm talking about junkier names when we say companies that were related to Ketan Parekh or others or that got involved. Some of them were maybe profitable like a Z, but there were many which were, badly managed balance sheets or even fraudulent. Right now, it's hard to spot the same nature in terms of whether there are fraudulent names there or they're simply businesses that got overvalued. So that's sort of the bubble mania thing. And if something is overvalued, it should become undervalued, no, before you say it's over. So
Extreme level of undervaluation also has to be reached.
That has not been reached.
So currently, what would you advise to the people who are doing regular SIP and buying into stocks where you feel that the market has a potential of more 30-40% downside?
No. First level that's a wrong question, because first of all, I cannot advise anybody anything. I'm not a registered advisor. We don't give advice.
Indirect way, if you could answer, you understood my question.
Indirect way, everybody understood my answer.
Okay.
So I think I think you have another maybe 6-8 months of bear market minimum. Whether it can be longer than that, this is based on history only. The last all bear markets of larger degree have occurred for at least 15 months, if not 21 to 24 months. So anywhere between 15 and 24 months bear markets we have seen in India. So 15 months from October high comes to March 2023. So that's like a timeline. If this is a bear market, first of all, we can agree or disagree on whether this is a bear market or routine correction. Once you agree it's a bear market, you will expect 15 months. If you don't think it is a bear market, you will think कि नहीं 14,000 पे तो bottom ही है. In fact, for even now, despite all the bearish talk, right now, as of yesterday or the last 3 days, the market is extremely oversold. So anybody who's thinking I'll short tomorrow morning and make money, you're going to lose money for the next 2 weeks. So be prepared for that. Having a bearish view is one thing longer term, but understanding the short term also is important in that context. So people read my report and say, shall we short now? I say, well, if the market rallies for 3 weeks, you need to survive. So bear market rallies are also as powerful and will kill you. Right now the market is set up for a bear market rally. It's extremely oversold. So while I say it's going to be in a bear market for 9 months, people should be aware that the next 3 weeks could kill the bears also.
So, sir, with total due respect, okay, last time when you were in the spaces, your same space, you were extremely bullish. Then one level got violated, and
17,200.
Yeah. So now, what would be that level that if that is crossed, then again you will change your view to bullish?
The April high?
16,800 or lifetime high?
No. April high was 18,150 or something.
April high. Okay. So after that, you will turn bullish. Sir, totally with due respect, I'm asking, please don't consider it in a negative way.
No, that is why I gave you a number. Otherwise, I usually argue that number doesn't matter. There are multiple factors that go into a decision. Otherwise, I would have taken a bearish decision much earlier. But then you have seen that sectors have been rotating, and that means that even as market was at 17,200 in April, that was the point where all your last sectors, which is metals, oil and gas and all, were still at 52-week highs. So was power. So when there's still strength in the underlying market, sometimes you see that strength and you don't turn bearish. So that is a reason. So right now also to turn bullish, you need many reasons. You need to see that your bond market has bottomed out, for example. You need to see that the dollar has stopped rising. So there's so many other factors along with this. You have to see whether your currency is starting to strengthen again or not. So still, but if it has to be an extreme, if you take just basic technicals of lower lows and lower highs, so far we had 3 lower bottoms till April high. So that is why I have to put 18,150 as, if you have to have a number for a reversal, then it will end up being that far away.
So, sir, as you said that we could be in a bear market till March 23, but everyone knows that all sectors will not bottom out same time, and some would make a higher low, some will keep continuing their bear market. So if someone is prepared for that bear market till March 23, which sectors you would advise them, depend on your experience, that after the 2000 crisis, this sector started moving, that same history will repeat right now, that this sectors you should start doing SIP kind of looking at, which will again
again you're putting the SIP word in my mouth. So first of all, let's not get into giving any advice. But
not
the other
advice,
part is that there will be no. So even then, I don't want to say whether anybody should do SIP, not do. That is their personal decision. Some people I have the capacity to get fully invested also. SIPs for small investors who don't have any money. So let me not go into that space. If you ask me, I can be critical.
No, not SIP. My question's wrong. Full correction आता है तो next कौन सा sector का
तो नहीं, वो ऐसा नहीं होता है कि कोई भी सेक्टर की जो बॉटमिंग फेज है वो सब within 6 months होता है, तो within 6 months कौन सा sector पहले bottom होगा वो तो अभी के अभी बोल. You can sort of comprehend that maybe the first sector that topped out will bottom out first, or the one that topped out last will bottom out last, or will they all capitulate at the same time? Very hard to say. What happens though is very few stocks bottom out before the market rather than sectors.
Sir,
For example, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example.
Yes, sir.
When
Yes,
the
sir.
Y2K bear market was going on, companies like Tata Power and BHEL bottomed out in the first quarter of the bear market itself and didn't make a new low after that. But does that mean that the entire power sector did that? No. Many stocks in the power sector continued to fall. So these were two individual stocks only that did that, and there maybe have been a couple of others. So there will not be a complete basket, or a particular sector that will bottom out before the market. There may just be a few stocks that got extremely undervalued that may find value buying and may not fall anymore. So that requires a very specific, stock-specific bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach.
Sir, what will be a reversal point according to you? Will it be crude? Will it be inflation? Will it be the geopolitical situation? What can be the turnaround point, if you can please?
Geopolitics is usually the last one, because your sentiment will usually turn very, very negative because of geopolitics, just like Russia happened. Or if you go back to 2001, the last geopolitical event was 9/11. So when something like that happens, you'll usually reach a selling climax and a bottom, which will not be broken. In terms of commodity, oil will be the last one to top out. So usually a commodity panic on the other side is the cause of a bottom, where you will get extreme pessimism in the commodity space.
So as you're comparing it with Y2K,
Yeah.
a recent view of yours is that if INR crosses 78, 79, exact level, I don't know of that trend line which you had drawn, and it will go to 88. That's what the target you had given. So if that happens, will the IT stocks or pharma stocks outperform, or they will, I'm just asking in correlation to Y2K,
Hmm.
that time also if INR had depreciated same way, they kept on correcting, or did they outperform the markets?
No, so, okay. I have
Because
an
if
alternate.
the INR breaks out, not many people will jump into IT stocks and pharma stocks.
No, so let me just correct you on the INR part. I have given a view, but I have an alternate picture which I have published yesterday, which is not in the public space, in the public domain.
Okay.
And this is again in comparison with 2000. So if you notice, the USD INR is going up very, very slowly. Now, if it did move up fast, we would expect it to go to 85, 88 or so on. The alternate structure is that it is forming a long-term ending diagonal in a fifth wave, in which case it might not go much above, say, 80.70. This is something I published on Monday. And it is based on comparing with the year 2000. The thing is that even in 2000, you were at the end of a fifth wave of a very, very long term. And so at that point of time, when you were in that long-term fifth wave, the move up was very, very slow. That's the main point I'm trying to make. So you only moved up some few rupees, I think, during the entire Y2K bear market. The USD INR did not move up a lot. If we do follow the same pattern, then probably we won't go much above 81.
So I'm done with my questions. Any particular thing you want to speak on, or something which you want our notice to go on, which as a students we are missing on?
I don't know. There's so much in markets. Unless you ask me a question, I'll not know what to throw light on. But
So Anand sir, Niresh, if you have any questions for Rohit, or if
My
you
question
want to add anything on what he has said.
Chirag, I'm asking a question to Rohit sir. Rohit bhai,
Yes,
आपको क्या लगता है, where is DXY and particularly DXY headed towards? क्योंकि DXY सपोर्ट कर रहा है, प्लस उनका जो 10 years का बॉन्ड है वो आपको क्या लग रहा है? US market की बात.
US 10-year bond might be close to a top. Maybe one more high in the bond yield will be there. After that, it will probably start declining. And that may coincide with a top in oil also. Little early to say though, but there were some initial signs that oil and gas prices are topping out on Friday. So if that happens, then even bond yields, I think beyond one more spike higher, they will also top out.
Sir, one general question, because you look at fractals a lot, comparing with 2000. Many people compare this fall with 2008. Some people will have gone to comparing with the 1929 fall, 1979 fall. But generally, most of the bear market fractals are not similar. What is your view on that?
I mean, I didn't completely get what your.
So if we look at the chart setup, okay, then lot many people are making a comparison that this current fall is equivalent to 2008. You are
Mm,
comparing it with 2000 fall, and there
mm,
are some people who are comparing this fall with looking at the pure fractal chart pattern, that
mm,
the same fall is like the 1929 fall, which was in the US market that time.
mm,
Okay,
mm.
my question is, most of the bear market fractals are similar. Are you
Mm.
in view of that?
Yeah, they are all similar.
So they end up.
The only difference is in the size of each leg. So, for example, in Elliott waves, we say a correction is ABC. 1929 is also ABC, 2000 also ABC, 2008 is also ABC. The difference is in the length of C. 1929 wave C was extremely extended, but in the other two cases, it was not. That's the only difference.
And most of these corrections are wave 2 or wave 4.
No, that doesn't really matter. But a zigzag is typically a second wave formation, which means ABC. What we are really seeing is usually a
XYZ
zig.
what we are into right now.
Yeah,
So if this is the second wave, assuming it even ends at in March 23, then there is a very big bull market coming by 2030, you mean to say?
yeah, of course. So here's the sheer difference. I mean, people can say, "Oh, if a bull market is coming, why should we even bother about a bear market?" So I had a cousin of mine call me, ask me whether I should start a SIP in some, what do you call those funds which have hybrid funds, basically between debt and equity. And I was like, okay, whatever it is, just think about one thing. The difference, if you are currently investing at 100 rupees and you think you're going to get back 150 rupees, you can invest in at 100 and probably 5 years down the line you get back 150. But the difference between a 50% return and a 300% return is a 50% drawdown. So if you go from 100 to 50 and then it goes to 150, you have a 300% return. A 50% drawdown might not sound like much, but in terms of return at the end of the day, it is a large sum. You can end up buying Infosys at the peak of 2000 and then get that price again after 15 years.
Yeah, 13 years.
So
2013
yeah,
it was. Yeah.
so 13 years. So that's so it's also not about the exact return, but also the right stocks. So the cleansing process of markets often decides who are the clean actors. Today, like for example, Y2K, at least we knew Ketan Parekh and K10 stocks were very popular. Today, which is the bad actor in this bear market? So if you don't know who are the bad actors and you end up being in them, you sort of did a huge destruction to capital in any case, which is one of the reasons why knowing that you're in what type of market and preserving capital through it is essential act for in investing, that you really know what is right and wrong only when once you've sat through it and all the skeletons have come out of the cupboard. Right now you have no idea where the skeletons are.
So I'll put it in a different way. What Rohit sir said, that once the stocks have crashed, it is not necessary that in the next bull market they will outperform or perform. So you have to be very selective in the next bull market. Fabio, you raised your hand. You can ask
Yes,
your
yes.
question.
I will want to add something. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Fabio.
No, I just had a very small question.
Yes, go ahead. स्मॉल का रोहित सर, आनंद सर, नुरेश तीनों है, बराबर आंसर देंगे.
Okay. So this was to Rohit sir. You'll have to mute your mic. It's echoing.
Yeah.
So this was to Rohit sir. Rohit sir, you compared the new age technologies in the fall of Y2K, like they were totally slaughtered. Like you said that All Power was one of the index stocks. Now I have not seen that, nor I was. I mean, I was too young to even be in the markets. But what from whatever I have studied, and I'm asking this for my own knowledge, what what's the difference between the two times is that at those point in those at that point of time there weren't many private equity investors or the institutions who do pre IPO investing. So for example, a Tencent is investing in Paytm, they would do a thorough due diligence before they take a stake, and that risk has reduced for retail investors. Is this the case? That I mean, is it right what I am saying, or do you have a
No,
different view?
no, what you're saying is completely wrong.
Okay, I would.
And
Okay, please correct me.
yeah, no, I'll correct you in big time. What has happened is the you may feel that the risk has been transferred, but what has also happened in the process is that the returns have also been taken away from you. So most people tend to forget that there's a direct correlation between risk and reward. If you don't take the risk, you're not going to get the reward. So if you want to buy a stock that's going to go up 100x, you need to take risk. If you want to buy a stock that's going to grow by only 10x, 10% per annum, then yes, you can reduce your risk significantly and you'll get low returns as well. So to believe that somebody de-risked it for you and now you will get a high rate of return, you can completely forget about that idea. It doesn't exist in the real world. Now, so what does a private equity do? He buys stake when the company is worth 1 billion. He makes it worth 100 billion and then he sells it to you. By that time, you're buying something at a PE ratio of 200 times, 100 times, 50 times. Your returns are finished already. Now, if you're buying at that kind of valuation, then you're never going to get a high rate of return. So, by saying you've de-risked it, you've sort of ensured that you don't get a good rate of return. So, anybody who bought Infosys, if you know the story, in 1994, the issue almost failed and nobody wanted to buy it because in 94, the economy peaked and started to roll over. And there were a lot of bad software companies in India that were simply looting the public. So nobody wanted to buy software companies. And so Infosys IPO was going to fail except for a few investors like Ramesh Damani who said, fine, we'll buy the stock because it's a good management and bail it out. And it got listed. So now it got listed, a growth company got listed. It was almost not getting listed. So now this was not private equity. There was no private equity involved. So it got listed at a price where you could actually benefit from its future growth. So the IPO market in India there's gone through a lot of rigmarole. If you study history, 1991, prior to that, there was a CCI, Controller of Capital Issues. And if Control of Capital Issues ensured that you could get an IPO at a fair price because it was formula driven. If you're coming out with an IPO, this is the formula at which you will sell it so that you do not sell at a too high price to individual investors. This simply meant that retail investors had were being handed out the best pricing for IPOs. So they almost always made money in an IPO. But the difficult part was that, yes, you got good IPOs at a good price, but sometimes there was oversubscription. In fact, many times as the bull market developed, many times it would get oversubscribed. So allotments were difficult. That was the other opposite side of the problem. Then Manmohan Singh ji came along with his own reforms, and among those reforms were, let us abandon CCI. Sounded nice, which meant that you can price your IPO at any level. It also opened up the equity market, so anybody can come to the market and raise money. Anybody come to the market and raise money led to fly-by-night operators coming, raising money and going away because there was no SEBI, so you could just loot the public with creating a company on a blank sheet, and it had no background, no history, nothing. But there were many companies that tried to do so. There was another advantage that there were genuine people who would take capital from the public and would try to actually create a business, and if successful, they would actually end up making money for you. So probably Jindals and others who are still around got listed at that time, went through the down steel cycle and survived it. Now, so they're both type of stories. Now, because of those 94, 95 scandals around IPOs, then SEBI got more powers. They put up a message that, okay, now anybody without a 3-year dividend record, without so many years of business cannot get listed. So now if these companies cannot get listed, what will they do? They'll go to private equity. Now, private equity says, fine, if I'm investing in a startup, why should I, sell it in the market right away? Let me prime it up, let it become big, and then I'll sell it for a much higher valuation. So that's the big money. Big money is screamed out by the private equity itself. And now after that, they're selling it to you. So the whole advantage of a new company coming to the market and allowing you to choose to invest in it has been taken away from you. Okay, so this is my opinion on what the IPO market is. The last time I invested in an IPO was 1992, which was one of the first investments I ever made, and the last time I ever applied for an IPO in my life.
Okay. I mean, totally agreed on what you said. My main motive of bringing this point was that today I won't be seeing that 90 to 95% corrections in large companies that are coming. I totally agree that today, what Nykaa can't give me more than 10 to 15% return because it has listed so high. So I'm totally
Giving
fine.
you negative return. Forget 10 to 15%.
Yeah. So no, the thing I was comparing was the crash of Y2K and the crash of today. So like you said, that new age companies in those times, they were totally slaughtered. What I meant was that new age companies in today's time won't be slaughtered as much as Y2K because a risk component has already been taken
No.
away by.
The reason
Okay, so I may
the
be.
reason
Yeah,
the reason 2000, and this is not a comparison, because 2000 may also new listed companies came in at a high valuation only. A lot of good companies which are still around came in at high valuations back then. So it was just the bubble, because if Infosys is trading at 350 times PE ratio or 200 times, Satyam Computer also 200 times PE ratio or 150 times PE ratio, naturally the next tech company that gets listed starts at only 50 to 100 times PE ratio, right? So when you're getting listed at that kind of valuation, anyway, you're embedding risk over there. So it is no different than what it is today. It's just that it is being issued by a PE. The valuations are still high. That is the market. The market is doing that.
yeah, got it. Thank you.
Srinath sir, you have a question, or we'll let Rohit sir continue because it's amazing to hear him.
I had a question for Rohit sir only. I
Go
have
ahead.
some comments on Pavel and Chirag, your question, but मैं बाद में बोलेगा, मैं है अभी. Let's get the most of Rohit sir's time. So, Rohit, you mentioned we're likely to see like highly oversold. I saw BofA bear indicators showing zero. Finally, that meter has hit zero in that extreme bearish to bullish. So this, if it is a bear market, so different people agree, disagree. I agree. So if I think it's a bear market, how far do you think this bounce will go in terms of level, or how many days, or some indicator like USD JPY will correct or something like that? Bounce कब तक जाएगा आपको
Simplest
लगता है?
thing is it will be a 50-60% retracement of the fall.
From what level? From the 16.8.
So either from 16.8 or from 18,000. That's a judgment we'll have to take over the next few days.
Okay.
We are still trying to take that judgment, whether it's a small retracement or a larger retracement. But I would like to see something a little more long lasting because of that extreme negative sentiment readings that you're seeing.
So
Oh.
I have one
Thank
question, Rohit sir, particularly to CNX Metal. There is lot of fundamental change in the metal stocks, being into lot of debts. Now lot of companies have reduced their debt, but commodities is cyclical. So where do you see CNX Metal? Is this correction a sort of very long term wave too, or it is an X wave, and again we are going to the bottom Z wave where it would,
Wave, wave
Tisco
two,
would go back to 500 levels or below
wave,
that?
wave two.
So this 12-year breakout, would you mean to say that most of the metal stocks will cross their lifetime highs again?
Most probably.
So if generally you say that wave 2 is 61.8% correction, uh, I see Tisco right now doing A equals to C and other stocks doing A equals to C in this correction in the larger wave from the top. So one should be a good buy or still wait? Still more correction left or can start accumulating?
So again, I will not answer a question on whether you should buy or not something.
CNX metal पे व्यू दे दो सर, पर्टिकुलर स्टॉक नहीं तो.
नहीं, बट अगर बेयर मार्केट खत्म नहीं हुआ है तो फाइनल बॉटम नहीं आया है. शायद रैली आ सकता है ओवरसोल्ड में से, बट फाइनल बॉटम नहीं बना है मेटल इंडेक्स में.
ओके.
वेव टू ही है, बट वेव 2 कंप्लीट हुआ है कि नहीं इज राइट नाउ नॉट अ कंफर्म्ड आंसर.
Okay. So how do we put it in a reverse way that CNX metal crosses this level will be a confirmation that wave
That's
2 is
not a, see, earlier also I answered that question on Nifty, but that's not a way I function.
Okay.
I don't
So if you
function
see a
with, see,
5-wave rally,
I don't function in a way that इस लेवल के ऊपर मैं सही हूँ, इस लेवल के ऊपर नीचे हम गलत हैं, because because of a multi-factor model that you need to use, you know.
I'll ask it in a different. If we see a 5-wave rally from the lows now,
naturally,
one impulse, then that
naturally,
would be a confirmation.
Yes.
Okay. I'm done with my question, sir. If anyone has question for Rohit, sir, or if again he wants to point out any things which we are missing.
No, I like to hear other people also what they have to say. I think I have fairly shared my view.
Yes, Srinivas, go ahead.
Sorry. Anyone, any questions for Rohit? Because he's like the guru. मैं amateur inputs देगा अभी. If none, I'll continue. If any questions for Rohit sir, then just interrupt me or put up your hand. So
no problem. You can continue, or Anand sir can take over, because he also is from that similar years of experience where we have not seen those markets, and he would have seen something different, and he can add inputs.
Cool. So I'll just give my take. So I'm a pro, as I often introduce myself. I'm a professional marketer, but I'm an amateur trader. But I have some investing experience in quotes. So मैं 2000 थोड़ा सा खेला, 2007, 6, 7, 8 properly खेल के properly, you know. So I Rohit may disapprove of this very crude form, but you know, once the fire is lit, it burns everything, all like a movie ending. We just have to see for who survives. So in my portfolio, Bajaj Auto got, this is 2006 purchase, it got tokoed by half. Tata Elxsi got butchered, some others got butchered. But, you know, IVRCL Infra went to 5 paisa. Deccan Chronicle went to 5 paisa or 10 paisa. So the market tells us कि क्या bad actors है ये वो काफी clear price action में बता देता है. All we have to do is then there'll be maybe 100 stocks left which have their izzat intact. We don't need to, I feel, we don't need to look at the prices or even valuations. Just look at who's clean and kiska bright future lag raha hai. And I doubled up on Bajaj Auto and Tata Elxsi. Retired very well thanks to Bajaj. Post split, then you know, then finance became FinServ, all that stuff. Unfortunately, sold Elixir very early. That's another learning. This is my crude form. I don't know, Rohit, if you feel this is too crude, but you know, if you don't have sophisticated investing skills, I feel this is like a decent way to know. The other point I want to make, Pavel, is for Pavel actually, and Chirag, a bit of your question. Joe, I've played heavily, and I still play with the venture capital pack. So, काफी दोस्त लोग हैं, VC world, PE world में. So I won't use names, but I'm on my real name here and on LinkedIn. You can check out. I've run marketing at Snapdeal for a year. It's public information. So the algo basically is in 3 parts, and they call in pros like me and guys even better than me, and they pay us a lot of money and to pull this off. It's called raise and burn, extend and pretend, pump and dump. So you get to know of companies primarily in the pump and dump phase. Extend and so what happens is in the and this is I'm assuming no chori chakari. Then it's an obvious disaster, like a Deccan Chronicle. वहाँ चोरी कर रहा था director. So obviously it had to go to 5 paisa. But what happens is in the extend and pretend phase, it is better for the early investors and the guys who come in to seed the business model with fundamentally long-term negative aspects. And I'll explain long-term negative aspects so that unka exit ekdam 5x, 10x on large kitties, 50 million goes to 500 million. Ho jata hai. So, and primarily in India, this is achieved by a volume, economic distortion of the volume price point. So, a lot of volume right now you're seeing of tech platforms, of some of the listed names, unlisted names, these are happening at uneconomic pricing. So जिस वो जब तक 10 रुपया पे है something, India will buy 1 crore of it, and the PNL looks like it may make up, and it may even show EBITDA positive or some such fictitious number. But the thing in India is the day it goes from $10 to $14, the volume collapses by 60-70%, and the whole business model blows up. And this is going to happen to everyone. I don't see a single exception there on the list. So I feel, why bother would be my argument when you may get an HDFC Bank at $500 or $1,000 post merger, or an Infosys cheap, and so on. That's my view. Um, a lot of what you're feeling, and I'm proud of what you said, Fawil. It's proof of how powerful our marketing has been, because these things have been sold very well. But thoda skepticism will be useful. That's all I can say without, maybe offending
Rohit
people.
sir, I have one final question for you. In Y2K or the era before that, information to traders used to reach a lot late before they could analyze, understand things. Now, most of the traders have access to real time information. So, market discounts a lot of things in a very quick way. So, how do you look at the current scenarios of the market where any information, like if you look at the US market, they have any good stock has a just little bit of EPS miss, and directly 40% correction happens in that stock in the pre-market, and next day opens down so much. The information access is so good to every trader. How should they take this in their trading world, and how the markets behave around this?
So somewhere I think when it comes to the Elliott wave model, it sort of helps in being able to be ahead of those curves, because when you say something is discounted or it's news, it's basically reflected in market behavior, and that is the best model for mapping market behavior. So most of the time, it's always that the trend is always already in a particular direction where the news is going to come. So it's rarely seen that prices are not rising ahead of a positive event or falling prior to a positive event. You will not see that a price hits an all-time high and next day the event is so negative that it has to fall 40%. So that is an extremely rare thing. You never mostly see it. Somebody is always informed and inside on something, and therefore markets tend to be ahead of it. So that's one thing. And second is on a much more broader scale, while we might think everything gets discounted quickly, prices may react to one particular result, but then when it comes to cycles, they take their own time. So if there's a reversal in the economy, if the economic data points are changing, then that doesn't get priced in because people's expectations don't change so fast from one side to the other. And that is why apart from short-term discounting, the medium to longer term trends still continue as they are.
So you mean to say market shows its footprints much before the event?
Yeah, very much.
Anand sir, Nuresh, you have anything to add or ask?
So I'll start off with something. I've been hearing a lot of chatter on spaces about bearishness and various things. One of the things which I'll say, which is the fact is when you look at the data, there is not a bull market per se in a big way because most of the time we are putting an anchor to 7,500 Nifty. So a lot of things happened out of syllabus. COVID came out of nowhere. And before the fall in COVID, March 20, there was no bull market per se. So by end of 2020, when we looked at the data, I actually wrote an article on March 24, 2020. It's never been so bad. And the only difference was we've not seen a bull market before that. So before 2008 fall, there was a bull market. There was a sector, a couple of sectors which did really well. In 2000, there was some operators, some sector which did really well. 1992 was similar. So today, when we are talking about a bull market, there has not been a bull market per se in terms of return. The last 4-year returns is below fixed income for the Nifty, right? So what happens is we are going through this phases of consolidation where the markets will fall. Everyone will be waiting for a 50-60% retracement of the whole fall. We've seen it happen in 2011. We've seen it happen in 2013. We've seen it happen in 2016. Everybody wanted a retest of the bigger lows. I remember back in 2004 also, when I started in the markets, everyone wanted a retest of the Black Monday 2004. So that's where the problem is. The good part about being bearish is if you go wrong, it doesn't matter because nobody will come and catch your throat because you don't lose money because you haven't bought anything and lost money, but you miss an opportunity. And opportunity misses are not something which we say hanker about. So, for example, I'll always not look into whether I could have bought Atul at 60 rupees or a Bajaj Finance at 100 rupees and seen 100, 200 back. What we always worry about is a 20% fall after we buy or a 40% fall. So my view is over the next few months, we are again in a similar situation. People will like all that everything is, this is not the case. So I don't think people knew what Putin was going to do or whether COVID was going to come out of. And forget about markets, we would be running around for groceries. So the whole view is over the last few years, couple of years or maybe 4 years, we've seen a lot of out of syllabus things, which we were never able to say quantify. See, 2007-8, you could call it global financial crisis. 2013, Fed taper tantrum, etc. A lot of things were in terms of calculation. We are not scientists and medicos to have understood COVID in the sense. So my view is at these price points, what will happen is going forward also, which has happened since 2009, the corrections on the Nifty will not be as much as what people want. But the broader markets will bottom out much before because that is where the pain is. So even today, like say, according to the numbers which we look at in terms of, when I say the broader markets, we look at everything which is listed, we run a scan. So on 1,200 to 1,500 stocks on NSE, roughly there are 2,000 odd stocks which are above 100 crores market cap on the BSE. We've gone to 40% fall on 40% of the stocks. So this is a very big 40 by 40, which I look at as a good 60-80% of the correction is done. And any further correction beyond this actually needs an event which is much more worse than what you already know. So my view is over the next 3-6 months, there will be more opportunities for people who are ready to leave the bottom away and start building a portfolio. And so all through people will have targets between 11,000 to 15,000. The opportunity misses happen because you want to get the last 10-15% right. So that is how I would sum it up. And finally, when we look at the Indian total market cap, we are at 250 lakh crores of total market cap. 45-50% is with promoters, another 20% is with FII, another 10-15% is with DIIs totally. This is a market where 10% of the float is roughly available. That's like 25 lakh crores of float available. And we are now getting towards the point where there is 2.5 lakh crores of default inflows, which is SIP plus LIC plus EPFO. Eventually, whenever the next cycle comes, somebody will call it 6 months out, somebody will call it 12 months out, somebody will call it 18 months out. There will absolutely be a rush because we are not going to get a lot of new paper in a big way. And when that comes, FII, DII both will become buyers. And at that point of time, if you're not sitting on a good amount of allocation to equities, it hurts. And that is what has happened with 2008 also, people who went on cash, 2011, 2013. So you have to decide an asset allocation approach that where you play tactically to play the bear market and not to go and say, I'll sit on 80% cash and I'll be godly and be able to buy right at the bottom. So, and most of the times people are generally, we have majority of the people who invest a good part of their portfolios in various ways into equities, whether it is mutual funds, direct equities. Most people do not short because that's say a place where you can only make 100% if everything goes to zero, and that is also on paper. Actually, most stocks fall 30 to 90%, or generally 30 to 60% is a trade, but an investment can be 300% higher. So my view is you're getting into a phase over the next 12, 18 months or 12 weeks where you need to take some pain on the table and be ready to be optimistic in that period.
Well, I'll just say one thing, that nobody really needs to catch the bottom. So if I go 80% cash and I say I will only invest in the bottom, that would be presuming that I have the ability to catch the bottom. But what's wrong with waiting for it to start to advance in a way that you feel comfortable? And you can always buy 10% higher, which is also fine as a strategy of sitting out through a risk period, waiting for it to confirm that the worst is over, and then making an entry point. So why not just wait it out and let that be true?
So just a personal question, how many times have you been able to go all in 10% higher? I find it extremely difficult. That's the reason I'm asking for.
No, I have actually not found it difficult. So I am sure it requires some. I am sure that 90% of people can't do it, but I would definitely propose that they make an attempt. I know it's not easy. Most people who are managing funds, it's difficult because legally they cannot go 100% cash in any case when it comes to mutual funds. So that's a separate problem. But at an individual level, if you're managing your own money, I don't find it difficult to go all cash and re-enter. I've done it several times. Even during a bull market through deep corrections, I've done it. Right now, it's in the public domain that I'm already 80% cash right now. And if tomorrow morning, as I mentioned here, we are rallying, crossing 18,000, what would stop me from buying along the way?
So, Rohit sir, as you said that on an individual level, how does one develop that psychology? Because it takes time to learn all these things. But what are those small steps one can take? Because it is a very difficult thing. I totally agree to Nuresh. I might also be in his camp.
I don't know if there's a simple answer, except that you need to create a process for it using technical tools. So you use whatever momentum indicator you like, combine it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You'll see if you're seeing multiple time frames giving you a buy, you can make an entry. If you get multiple time frames giving you a sell, you can make an exit. So you can have a strategy to do it, and then it's a question of simply implementing that. Now, why people are not able to, there's an entire subject known as behavioral finance to study, what stops people from, making these decisions, which is more getting into psychology. I know it's hard. For example, if somebody owns a long-term investment at 100, if he sells all of it, buying it back at 120 is usually very, very difficult. So one of the things I propose is that don't go 100%. Okay, so don't sell. If you like something and you're holding on to it for the long term, don't sell all of it. If you keep on, if you only do a partial exit and a partial re-entry, it's usually easier, because if you own something at 100, it goes to 120 and you still have 50% of your position, you don't find it difficult buying back the balance 50 at a higher price. But if you don't own any of it, you find it almost impossible. This is one of the, in terms of behavior, what I've found. So usually doing that makes it easier, that you keep some component of your holding in the direction that you like, rather than going 100%. That will always help you in adding it back if it moves against you, and also makes it easier for you to add when it goes to a lower price.
I know you summed up in a great way, but very difficult to practice, and it takes years of experience to do that. Go ahead.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I cannot stress it more, but yeah.
I can understand it's very difficult, because it takes, uh, once
But
a
how? I mean,
trader has
my
gone to
question is very different. That how else do you protect yourself? I mean, I can sit back and say that okay, why do anything about it? Because I can't handle it, so then I will not manage it. But what if things get worse? Then how do I protect myself? That is my other opposite side of the question.
so if I have to answer that question, whatever maximum new traders are there or people are there who come into the investing world, at least after a decade they realize that what a bull market is, what a bear market is, what a sideways market is, and after paying fees to the market they realize that what is to be done next, and market teaches you those lessons in the hard way. So if any newcomer is here who is listening to you also and knows that you are talking after your 30 years of experience, to execute that actually on his portfolio is a very difficult thing. So I'll give you an example. I know one of my clients which I spoke to today. He said that if I wouldn't have been talking to him, he would have already, added lot of positions when the market came down from 18,500 to 16,500. But at that point of time, in the first wave down, the stocks has hardly corrected 10-20%. It took a lot of daily conversation with him that wait, stocks will come down 30-40%, wait. And now he realizes that if some mentor is there, someone is hand holding you, then it becomes easy. Or else it is very difficult for a newcomer or someone who is in the market from 5 years to execute what, even after reading books, you write a book on psychology or anyone else, but जब वो actual button F2 दबाने का आता है ना, फट जाती है portfolio पे. I'm sure lot many of you would agree. That's why I know people from 2008 they are still holding that high power
No, I'll just add one point. See, the point is 40% of the stocks down, 6% of the stocks are down more than 30%. So that's the whole point. We are, unless we expect to go back to 2020, where 70% of the stocks fell more than 60% types. That is the point. And there has to be some asset allocation rules. Then you don't go, sitting on cash and losing out the whole opportunity and not adding 10-20% higher will stop you from investing for a really long time. I've seen a lot of people in 2020 who could not buy at 9,000 Nifty, 11,000 Nifty, 14,000 Nifty, and they just missed out the bus. That's the reason I say you should have asset allocation rules, wherein my portfolio will be equities, 20% would be debt. If suddenly this becomes 80%, shift to debt, irrespective of where the market is. So you need to have asset allocation rules which allows you to exit somewhere away from the top and keep on dipping somewhere away from the bottom. Because most of the times we think we'll be able to buy a large chunk of our investment, buying 10%, 15% from the lows. But it's not as easy. Say in COVID, it gave you a 2-week period to buy 10,000 sub 10,000 Nifty after the or a 4-week period. So that is what I'm talking about. So my view is people will want Nifty to go to 11, 12, 14,000. We may not go there, but stocks may go there to the same prices. So it has to have an asset allocation rule because that is what I've seen over the years. Have gone on cash in 2008. Even the smartest of the investors could not back in a big way. So for a normal individual who's not in the, say, I consider myself to be dumb. I'm not the smartest guy around. So for me, I like to be not the smart, not take a very big cash call. I take a call when not to be into fresh money into equity and put fresh money into. So taking a big cash call at a time when most of the stocks are down 40% implies you should have the gumption to buy it when there is a panic or when the panic has recovered. Not easy to talk about, and over here वो नया बन जाए तब ले लेना चाहिए एक्सेट्रा, बट होता नहीं.
So basically, what I understand is India needs a 401k like US, where people see their parents have been invested in 401k, seen lot many different cycles, and then still they hold on to that 401k investment, which is directly into the stocks. So if that comes, then the retail psychology or long-term investor psychology in India would change, and lot many new investors would come in. Go ahead, Srinath sir. You raise your hand if you have any question.
No, I just want to add the other side of the coin. So I think one has to be, and yeah, again, this is a more regular guy, long-term investing. So Amit bhai, I don't know, maybe we're straying off the topic of daily, weekly levels, but just 2 minutes on this. Ki actually, so if the critical question becomes, do I buy in that this is a 2008 type situation? तो तब मेरा जो learning है is roughly, what happens is the market moves make you sell at the worst time. That is the way this goddamn market works. You have to be superhuman. You have to be like a Rohit or something to, or a Nuresh to personally hold on. Most regular folks cannot hold on when the market does the things it's going to do. If it's a 2008 type scenario, which currently I bought into, or 2000, whichever is the technical comparison. So actually, that's one problem. The other problem is abhi na to spot what is the next multi-bagger, for lack of a better word. I mean, and that's actually what we're chasing. Actually, अभी नहीं पता हमको, क्योंकि ये जब market अगर 2008 type rock बन के वापस rebound करेगा, and the rebound happens fast, then the way what I did, I put like a decent chunk, 10 lakhs or something in Bajaj Auto. It was an easy buy because I knew knew the Bajaj brothers. Like these guys work like maniacs and dono honest log hai. That's all I needed. And I was bullish on India. And then life gives you a lottery ticket in that. I sprinkled another couple of lakhs across 4 stocks. One of them was Tata Elxsi, baki char ke naam bhi yaad nahi hai. That tells you how good my stock selection was, which is the other part, which is we actually won't be able to pick up those regular folks, those good mid caps and so on. I remained 80% in FD, and 80% FD plus one stock paying out is actually enough. And I still remain in extremely good condition, in renewed condition to be able to buy now. So somewhere what I'm saying is even the whole thing about equity being the long-term wealth builder actually works in an inverse way. Because remember, nobody on TV comes and tells you to sell because the whole industry makes money from that 1 or 2% fee. It's a brutal fact. It's like CMO marketing presentation डालता है, बोलता है budget करिए.
Srinivas, can I intervene?
Yeah, sorry. So that's my layman take.
Srinivas, when it comes to TV and coming on TV to sell, I call that more having myself been on TV for some time. Yes, you're right when you say no one comes on TV and asks you to sell. But the fact also is that no one likes that someone comes on TV and tells you to sell.
No, I would disagree on this. I come on TV on a regular basis. When we see a sell, we clearly tell a sell. But at the same time, when someone asks us about a cash stock, then we give a vague answer कि अगर ये लेवल टूटा तो उसके नीचे बेरिश होएगा, क्योंकि उसको इमीडिएटली बोल नहीं सकते कि तू कल बेच दे, क्योंकि किसी को मालूम नहीं है कि वो कल बॉटम करेगा कि नहीं. Like I'll give you an example. Delta Corp was trading at 200. Okay.
Chirag, not refuting what you're saying. All I'm saying is the guys who come on TV and tell sell are not liked.
Just bye bye from me. I think my time is done. So see you some other time, guys. Good night.
Suresh sir, can you be here for 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I was waiting for my opportunity, but a part of what I want to say involves TV. It is just a quick question. Rallying from 4,500 to 9,119, the Nifty made about 6,800 when it in early 2016, and then it never retested 6. Even in 2020, it didn't go back to 680. My question to you is: do you think that the bottom we hit yesterday or day before is that a kind of bottom which we never revisit again?
So, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, when you go back to 2016, I actually have a video 2 days before the bottom saying beg, borrow, steal, and invest. It's a 30 to 45 minutes presentation. So, we are not that cheap in terms of a lot of things. So, my view is this is a market which is more like 2011. Even if it bottoms out, money will not be made in a similar way. 2016 was a great time wherein in that bottom you had a lot of stocks which had fallen quite a bit, and we were back to the same prices where you were in 2010. So you were getting and 2008 we were just 10% away from the highs 8 years back. Today we are not even there. So that sort of confidence is not there. But my view is 10% lower from here on the index is what I look out for. That is the risk I'm looking at, 10-15% lower. But over the next 3 years, there is a much more opportunity. And the next 10% would depend on various global things. If something goes bad, one positive, say, trigger over the world can change the whole current scenario, and we would be at 17,000 thing. We missed out the opportunity. So the same is the view in 2011-12. I continued to buy at 4,800 FT and ready to digest the pain. Same way 2013 was a buyer at 5,500, saw 1,500. 2016 was a buyer at 7,500, saw 6,800. Same way I'll be a buyer at 15,500 and digest 14,500.
Thanks, Naresh bhai.
Chalo guys, bye. I'll also take leave.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Chirag bhai and Amit bhai, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity and in the space. I want to share a couple of things. One is that look, I don't think that anything has drastically or significantly changed from yesterday and today. And so the rally or the uptick, 2% uptick, what we are seeing now, I call it lollipop rally, which is getting a lot of kids excited. My view is that we will at least go down to 14,000, even below that levels. And so one should be cautiously watching levels and not do hope-based buying, basically.
So what would you stop loss for that? Because I was traveling and in my city, it was a thunderstorm. So I had to drive to home and it was all the roads were filled with water. So probably I was able to hear. मतलब हर सड़क पे पानी भरा हुआ था तो मुझे भी घर पहुंचने में टाइम लगा. मैं सिर्फ स्पेस को कनेक्ट करने के लिए कहीं रुक रहा था ताकि इतना पानी भरा हुआ है मतलब रोड्स पर मैं जैसे तैसे घर पहुंच गया. सो लीविंग दैट अपार्ट तो मार्केट भी ऐसे ही चलता है तो गाड़ी चलाना आता है इतना तो कि कैसे निकालनी कैसे नहीं. सो व्हाट वुड बी योर स्टॉप लॉस फॉर दैट?
You mean if one has to short?
Yes.
If one has to short, the stop loss has to be 17,000.
So for 17,000 target, market Nifty is 15,600, 14 point stop loss, 1,400 point stop loss for a downside of 1,400 point. That is 1:1 risk reward. If I'm not
No, 2,000. I was continuing. I mean, I was still speaking what I had to speak. If you plot the monthly chart of Nifty and connect the tops from 2008, 18, and 2020, you get a beautiful trend line below 14,000 and also coinciding with the 50% fib retracement of the rally from 7.5 to 18.6K. So it's about 2,000 points, and it could be even more than that. It could be, I'm using the word it could be. 17,000 is way, safe stop loss. I'm not suggesting one has to short. My point was one should not do hope-based buying. That was my point. And I'm just speaking, what I'm feeling, what is my view.
So if we are not supposed to short, if we are not supposed to buy, what are we supposed to do?
It's everybody's take. It's everybody's call. I'm sharing my point of view. I'm not giving it. I'm not telling.
We actually try to, suggest people what to do because a lot of retail investors come and they are confused. So we need to be definite about what we want to do, at least as speakers.
Well,
your views might be bearish, your views might be bullish. We are fine with that, but need to be definite. Be more definite.
Favilo, I can only be very definitely tell what I am going to do, but I cannot certainly say you should also do what I will do, right?
So what you are going to do?
Yes.
CK,
So
CK. Mayur,
Yeah.
just one second.